Hello, and welcome to episode 15 of Character Unlock, the Mass Effect special. I'll be hosting for the first time. My name is John Miller, and I'm being joined over Quantum Entanglement by Assassin's Creed episodes Brian Plank.
Good afternoon.
And for the first time ever, Lee Loveridge.
Hello.
How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
Also,
Good.
doing well.
Have you played much of Andromeda yet?
Yes.
Yes, I have. And yesterday, I took down an architect with a biotic charge to the face. So I feel
Nice.
pretty good about myself.
I like throwing things.
I've realised that playing as the Biotic's definitely the best way to go. It's so much more fun. I think I've discovered a new favourite combo, which is to use a combination of Lift and then Lance. Works quite well.
I'm just maxing charge and shockwave for now, and then I'll do other stuff. Because I'm just playing like I played in Mass Effect 2.
It's a
And
good way
then
to
I'll learn
play
a
it.
new way to play.
I'm going with pull and throw. Mainly because of the super advanced aliens liking to leave really explosive barrels of electricity and fire everywhere that like to be thrown at people.
It's as good a reason as any, I guess. How about the multiplayer? You played much of that, Brian?
No, I think you need PlayStation Plus or something for that.
Yeah, probably.
It keeps saying you're not online. I go, oh well.
That means you must have a bit of an issue with doing some of the Apex missions and the Strike stuff.
I can't do Apex missions.
Wow.
It says, get online.
Even if you want to send a Strike team onto the Apex missions.
Yeah, it says, come back when you're online.
Wow, that's poor, because there's a fair amount. I mean, is there a use for the mission rewards apart from in the online features? I don't think so. I guess you're kind of, by not being able to send Strike teams, I guess you're missing out on some stuff.
You can get gear.
Rewards. You get gear. Like, I think I picked up a level 5 Carnifex hand cannon, which is my most powerful gun at the moment. But
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few. I mean, to be fair, I've only got hand cannons as well from the strike missions, but then I'm still doing bronzes. I don't have quite as much time as you to play. I get roughly 2 hours a night at the minute. 2-3 hours.
well, I had a couple of days off, so I'll be back to playing maybe 2 hours a night from now on. So having those couple of days off means I've got quite far into the game. So, which is why we're not actually going to be talking about Andromeda much, apart from these few things. Instead, what we're going to do is talk almost exclusively on Mass Effects 1, 2, and 3, with a ridiculous number of spoilers, but that's after the news. So, we recently been told from Bungie, they teased themselves in Destiny 2 via Twitter, and then later on released a video of Cayde 6. Now, if you haven't seen the video,
Watch it.
I'd actually suggest watching it, although it's a bit shit.
What? It's amazing. Nathan Fillion, you are a god.
I knew that'd get a reaction out of you. So, Destiny 2, excited everyone?
Yes.
Nope.
Mixed reviews, I guess. I wouldn't say I'm very excited, but I did lose a lot of time playing Destiny 1 when it first came out.
Yeah, I
So-
think due to the fact that I can't spend much time playing anymore, I'm hoping that their promises of a less grindy game pans out, so that I don't quite have to put in so many hours to feel unrewarded still.
Well, I guess they kind of changed that later on in Destiny 1 when they made it so that when you did the... when you combined the gear, because you wanted to have a different one. Shit, I can't even remember what that was called.
Is it transmogrification?
Something like that.
I didn't even.
It's been a while since I played
I wasn't
Destiny.
even playing when they did that. I think I'm done by that.
Yeah,
point.
when they made it so that you could dismantle gear and then put this, and it would instead, it used to sort of half the distance between the better one to the one you were wanting to use because had decent stats. It used to half the distance in terms of light. Now it goes all the way to what is the better one. So you've got that advantage now.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's going to be less of a grind for Destiny 2.
Fingers crossed.
But if I'm honest, I think Destiny 2 is a bit too little too late. I mean, I guess it's nice to have a new story rather than a 3-hour long DLC campaign that's supposed to last the whole year.
Yeah, they're going to have a hard job getting a good sale on the game after the first game. Because everyone bought the first game. You know, it was practically a launch title and looked amazing from the videos. And then when it came out, it disappointed so many people. that I think that they're going to really struggle to get good numbers on the sale of the second game. And they've already gone and done the whole PlayStation exclusive thing again, which burnt a hell of a lot of Xbox fans out last time.
Well, it wasn't just the Xbox players that it affected. It also affected the PlayStation players. I mean, they got the stuff, but they couldn't have the good versions of that stuff because Bungie decided that while they had the ability to release those extra strikes, but they didn't put them on Nightfall challenges, which meant that you didn't get the fun version of it. And then you didn't get the rewards of those exclusive exotic weapons either. So in reality, all they did was burn the Xbox players for not having the stuff, and then burn the PlayStation players for not being able to have good versions of the stuff.
Yeah. But, they've just announced that they're doing the whole rewarding thing now for Destiny 1 if you want to crack back in for this is it Age of Triumph, I think it is. And that kind of makes me want to go back and give it a little bit of a bash just to see if it's better than the drop rate, because I never got that sniper rifle from the Crota raid. I can't remember what it is. Not Black Spindle, that was the secret one, wasn't it?
No, it was the other one. Yeah. Whatever it was called.
Yeah, I never got that.
It was a good sniper rifle.
I tried so many times to get that sniper rifle, and I just never got it. Hated that game. Forcing me to keep playing the same mission over and over again for something that I would have never used anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
It had you hooked. That was
it was definitely the friend thing. It was the friend thing for me. It was a good game to play with, with 6 of your friends. Whereas there's not many other games that give you that opportunity, and it was such a well-paced and crisp
I just think
shooter.
outside of Destiny and the Andromeda multiplayer, I don't think I've actually played any games with you. Maybe Mass Effect 3's multiplayer back in the day.
Did we play that? I don't think I knew. No, I don't
we
think
might
we
have
played
done.
that. Maybe.
Well, we've been friends since Xbox 360, surely.
Yeah.
Well, imaginary friends, anyway.
Definitely imaginary internet friends.
Next bit of news we've got is the remaster for StarCraft being released in the summer. So, now I'm just old enough to have played StarCraft back when it first came out, and I lost a lot of my what should have been spent time doing studying in school, playing StarCraft and not actually studying. You guys play any of StarCraft at all?
No,
LTS games in general?
I'm afraid not.
Well, when I was a kid, it was Warcraft 2 and the first Command and Conquer. And I played those, but I never got into StarCraft for not sure what reason. And then I went on to Warcraft 3, and then they did World of Warcraft and went, nope, that's a time sink. I can recognise that, and I'm not doing that to myself.
Was StarCraft PC?
StarCraft was PC.
Yep.
Okay, so I didn't play it because the only PC I had when I was young was a hand-me-down from my dad that had Windows 3.1. So there wasn't much opportunity to play games on it other than Pong, and it struggled to play that.
Okay, so just me who's almost excited for a bit of StarCraft.
I like the story of StarCraft. Like, I watched the cinematics, and the whole idea about the Queen of Blades is a quite cool way of telling it. But I'm not that interested to want to play it.
All right then.
Unlucky, mate.
You don't like games, Brian. Yes, I do.
Yes.
So apart from Assassin's Creed, which you do entirely for there being a history buff, and Mass Effect, you don't do anything.
No, I do, just not games we talk about.
There's not many people that play StarCraft.
Well, I've been gobbling through the PlayStation digital exclusive store. So things like Oxenfree, which is fantastic. It's short, it's scary. It's Scooby-Doo. It's the scariest episode of Scooby-Doo ever. Gone Home, which everyone knows is really good. Transistor, which I was told had a sad ending. And I got to the ending and thought, that's not sad. Then I got to the end of the ending and went, oh my god. And I've downloaded Valley to play, but I didn't get around to it because I was doing a bit of Dragon Age Inquisition to get ready for Andromeda. Because I figured Andromeda would just be Inquisition but with big guns.
Yeah, I get that.
So that's what I've been up to.
You should really consider checking out EGX Res. That's definitely up your alley, I think, because that's all of the little indie developed games and stuff.
Oh, but some of them look utter toot.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that, but there are some relatively decent ones out there that come through that stuff.
If it's short and it's got a story, then I'll be up for it.
I'm guessing you have tried the Telltale games because they're short and have story.
No, they just the look of them annoys me. It's also they're all properties. I don't want to play a Batman game. I don't care about The Walking Dead. I don't care about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, no, I agree. But there's the Guardians of the Galaxy one, which that's actually premiering soon. I think it's only a couple of weeks away. A Wolf Among Us, which is based on the Fables stories, and Tales from the Borderlands, which is loosely based on Borderlands. There's only a couple of the returning characters, but overall, I actually think that and Wolf Among Us are probably my favourite two stories in games. I'd say.
Did you ever play Life is Strange?
I really love that
I've
game.
got it. I haven't played it yet.
That was brilliant. To be honest, it was really
the
good.
only time I've screamed at the TV when I'm playing a game. It's the end of episode 2. Everyone at home who knows what that is.
Yeah, me too.
Scary, panicky.
If we're on
Other
indies,
people may.
my favourite indies are Supergiant games at the minute. They made a couple of my favourite, Bastion and Transistor. And
I've not played Bastion.
Bastion is amazing, and also Transistor is also amazing. Yeah, Bastion's excellent. Played that on 3 different consoles now, I think.
I listened to Transistor long before I played it, because the soundtrack is
brilliant. Yeah, really good.
Slinky and sexy and futuristic, and there's a great atmosphere in Transistor.
They've got a new game coming out soon, I think. This year, even.
What's that?
Can't remember the name of it. It looks really odd. But I know that Supergiant are doing one because I get the odd email update and every now and again.
I typed in Supergiant 2017 to Google, and I've just got Indian Premier League cricket.
No, that's not it. I hope.
Well, it could be.
Pyre,
Everybody
it's
loves
called.
Yeah, that's it.
Everyone loves a
Pyre.
bit of cricket.
Yeah, released in 2017. Yeah, that's the one. And it's PS4 and Windows, which surprised me why they would go with Windows and not get it on the Xbox at the same time. It's odd, but yeah, it looks a lot different.
Have you played Monument Valley?
No, I don't think so.
It's a very fun, breezy sort of puzzle game.
Noted.
It's also quite affecting. You become emotionally attached to 4 cubes.
Okay, I'm sold. Cubes of what, though?
No, cubes.
Okay. Well, I'll put it on the list. Is it an exclusive?
Oh, no, I got it on Android.
Oh, fair enough. Play it on the phone, then.
Anyway, the final bit of news that I have is that the Mass Effect Andromeda sales are down on Mass Effect 3 sales, which I'm guessing isn't a surprise considering the way that the reviews came for this game. You know, they were almost entirely negative, which I just don't see as fair, considering all of the reviews that mentioned being negative were because of poor facial animation and not because of the actual game itself.
Yeah, tough call. It's hard to look away from something like that when there's games that have been out 20 years, well, not 20 years, 5, 10 years, that have done facial animations better.
Did I link you up to that absolute fucking weirdo on Twitter?
Possibly.
The one who said that they're not going to play Andromeda because it's got ugly chicks in it.
Good one.
Wow.
Nice.
Yes, no, I definitely remember that.
He's the same person who boycotted Inquisition because Cassandra Pendergast is not attractive, which is a lie. She fucking is.
Yeah, definitely.
And because it doesn't have a brothel in it, and it's more liberals censoring games. We should have brothels and sexy stuff in games, and the girls should take the tops off as a reward.
Yeah, I'm kind of with him on that one. Be honest. What's the game without a strip club? Is there a strip club in Mass Effect? I've not seen it yet.
He went wild because apparently there's a bar on the Nexus, and I've not checked out, but he says, "Oh yeah, there's like Asari dancers in cages." Woohoo! What the fuck is wrong with you?
I've not been there yet.
The bar that I found on the Nexus doesn't have Asari dancers in it at all. I don't think.
He reckons that there's one somewhere.
There is a bar, but it's got no one on stage. It's more like a platform stage, isn't it? I think. Is that the Nexus?
No, if you go in there enough times, the people do go onto the stage for an open mic night.
Yeah, that's the one on.
Oh, quality!
Yeah, they're awful.
And a Turian reads poetry.
Yeah.
That's ace.
Nice idea. Fun. Definitely fun.
because I popped in and they said, "Can you find us some ingredients for drinks?" I thought, good, another thing to hunt for on my bloated minimap. Let's do that.
Yeah, it's worse than that. You have to. There is stuff on some of the other planets that you go to. I found at least 2 others since doing that first mission. Just so you're aware that you can find them. They do just sort of show up on the map. Not that you get a mini map, which is really fucking infuriating.
Oh, yes, I go way off track.
That's more for later stuff when we actually get on to talking about Andromeda properly.
Okay. Well, I totally understand the reviews, I guess, in a way. I mean, it's a bit harsh to focus solely on the facial animations, but when you presented with a video that makes them look amazing, and Sarah Ryder waking up and she looks outstanding, and then you play the game and she pulls her face like she's just eaten 2 lemons in one go. It's hard to look away from that, especially when the game's so focused on that interaction with characters and you talking to other people. It's kind of hard, I guess. So I get it. But the gameplay is smooth, and the fighting is, although the pace is picked up a lot because they've taken out the whole stopping and planning your moves and guiding your squad mates using their powers to speed up the sort of gameplay. It's worked, which I'm quite chuffed about. Didn't like it at first.
So, in 2007, the greatest franchise in video gaming history was brought out for the first installment, which was Mass Effect 1. Now, when this game was released, I'll be honest, I didn't finish it straight away. The disc that I bought had a scratch on it, and I got right to the end. I mean, literally right to the Citadel, and it wouldn't load any further.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Right to the Citadel, right to the final mission, and it wouldn't go any further. It wasn't until Xbox announced the installation onto the hard disk when I actually managed to finish it for the first time. That's how long it was between launch and me being able to finish the game.
When did they announce that?
That was about a year later, almost.
I don't even honestly remember. When I got the game or anything. I don't remember ever thinking getting excited for it and trying to play it or anything like that. I just remember at one point I was playing the game. It wasn't even a blip on my radar. Someone probably lent it to me, or I just ended up playing it and absolutely fell in love with it.
But that's probably what made the game so good, was that it was an under-the-radar thing. It didn't have a big publisher tied to it at the time. It was a Microsoft Studios launch by BioWare. So pre-EA, pre-huge-scale marketing for it, it was a game just using Unreal tech. I mean, what a game it was in the end.
Agreed. I miss it.
Right.
There's a lot about it.
I came to Mass Effect late. Like, when 3 had come out, the first I heard about it was that the ending was terrible for games that my pals were playing, and I didn't pay attention to it. And then when I got my PS4 and it came with Destiny, I thought, oh, the third-person shooter, that's quite good fun. But I'm not a person. I'm just some dude in a helmet that has no face. I don't want to play Destiny. And I did The Order, which is another cover-based shooter, and thought, this is quite good fun. It's got a story. You can get Mass Effect for PS3. So having bought a PlayStation 4 for however much money, I then spent the next 6 months playing the PS3. Clever idea. But that's why I came into it.
Did you download it digitally, or did you buy the trilogy?
I bought 2 and 3 because they were about £8 the pair in game, and I downloaded the first one. But I played 2 first, then 3, then 1, then 2, then 3. Yeah,
that makes sense. I mean, it was easier to getting hold of Mass Effect 1 on disc was notoriously difficult. Andrew has a great story. He actually put a pre-order on for it from one of the retailers online, I think, and they were only charging, I think, about £40 for it. And then one day he just got an email saying it was on the way. And this is back when it was so out of stock everywhere. If you went onto eBay to try and buy a copy, it was going to cost you in excess of £100. So he actually got a bit annoyed that he didn't buy 2, because, well, you buy 2 and you're making still, ridiculous amount of profit.
You're making money back on just one of them.
Yeah, because it's just It was unreal how few copies of the trilogy were actually put out for PlayStation. I mean, you could probably still buy the Xbox one, but I think there was only a couple of thousand units sold or made for the PlayStation version, which was just ridiculous. But I guess they didn't see the market for it. Anyway, before we get some more
property.
Yeah, well, it was a third-party company that did the port to the PlayStation version. So our overall theme is going to be, who is Commander Shepard? Which every person has their own individual Shepard. It doesn't matter how you play it. There are certain decisions that stick with you for each one. You can play Paragon, you can play Renegade, but you'll still always make one or two decisions exactly the same, regardless of the way you're playing, because you prefer the outcome. Whether that be throwing someone out of a window, setting someone on fire, or I can't think of anything nice to do. Maybe convincing an Asari that there is in fact a Krogan who is the love of her life.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I said no. They're not good for each other.
Well, there's an interesting further development into Mass Effect 3 if you actually convince them to stay together. But yeah, so there you go. You're gonna play through all of the games again just so you can get that little bit of extra story that you can just find by accident.
Oh, I think I had that. It definitely rings a bell.
So, Brian, who was your Commander Shepard? Describe Shepard to me and to the world.
I went for Jane Sybil Shepard.
Nice.
Default style, bright red hair. Basically box art Shepard. Partly because games with stubbly dudes running around shooting things are boring, and I wanted to do something different. And having a woman kicking ass with massive guns is different enough. Also, Jennifer Hale. Jennifer Hale is a voice actress who's done loads of stuff. She was in the X-Men Legends games on PS2. She is Rosalind Lutece, and Jennifer Hale's very good. I sent Brooker the bit where she played Daphne's sister in a Scooby-Doo, and she did it with the Shepard voice, which is the strangest thing you'll ever hear. So, yeah, Jane Shepard, Paragon. I decided pretty early on that if I was offered a drink, I'd take 3 of them, just to see what would happen. I wasn't too interested in romance, because I know loads of folks say, Mass Effect, great, who can I fuck? Also, you couldn't go out with Miranda, so, well, what's the point then? I played a Vanguard because I'm not good at shooting, but I am good at melee. So just charge in and then start hitting, or if we've got combat scenes, then I'll start the fight at the outside or undercover with an assault rifle, switch up to a shotgun, charge in and just go slotting people. And one of my big things, like my rules for Shepard, is it has to be a model of positive mental health. If someone says, "Are you alright, Shepard?" and if I've just seen something bad happen, say, "Actually, no, I'm not okay. I need a bit of help and support from my friends." None of this gruff bravado. Yeah, everything's fine. I'm a superhero. So I wanted, and I used Shepard as some of the rules that I use for a living, like if asking for help and looking for advice and putting it into context is much better. For all the games, but especially for 3, my big rule is there is no point in saving the world. There's no point in saving the universe if you don't make a universe worth saving. Every single life in the universe that you see, their quality of life is important. You can't doom all the little people or just cast them aside in the interest of your big mission. Because your mission isn't stopping the Reapers, your mission is preserving your way of life. And if that means getting banners for people, if that means finding out about someone's dead son, if that means anything that makes someone's day a little bit better, that is what your mission is. And that's how I'm playing all of Mass Effect, including Andromeda. The Pathfinder is on a mission to not just build a world, but to build a home and a community of people. So that's my Shepard.
That's really sweet.
Yep.
Okay, Lee, please tell me that you've got something completely different,
Yeah.
so just for a bit of parity.
Yeah.
All right, what have we got? Who is Shepard?
Okay, so my first shepherd was a woman, mainly for a similar reason. I don't like seeing stubbly guys. I'm a stubbly guy, so, I don't want to see that in a game as well. I look at myself in the mirror and I hate it. So, get it right in the game. Except she didn't have hair. I don't like the hair in games generally. I find it to be blocky, especially in the old games. So she was a skinhead. Basically my Ripley of the Mass Effect universe. Back when I started playing this sometime between sort of 2007 and 2010 probably, I was an achievement whore, for lack of a better word. So I smashed through it on Paragon. She was a saint to everybody. I did everything and everybody as well at the same time. And then that was that. So then I played as the bloke, and he was a bad guy, a really, really bad guy, who would kick everyone off cliffs and set fire to everyone, as you so rightly put it. But there's a few things that really stuck with me, and the first one was meeting a young blue octopus-headed woman in a mine, and we've formed a very strong bond in every gameplay throughout. I'm kind of gutted that Liara's not going to be back for Andromeda, which is a shame. I've even got a picture.
Did you hear her in Andromeda?
Yeah,
She's in one of Ryder's.
Yeah,
Oh,
that made me.
she did her lines in about 4 minutes.
Yeah, that made me.
Yep.
I enjoyed that. My pants got slightly tighter. But
There's
I was
a
gonna
couple
say
of audio logs in that room as well. So
Yeah.
after you get that message, so there's a couple of extra lines in there.
But I've got a picture of her on my wall as well. That's the love that I feel for Liara. Shepard can suck it.
For me, I'm going to go the opposite of you guys, and I actually did pick male Shepard, just because in Mass Effect 1,
not used to
male
feeling
Shepard
like a man.
actually has a face, as opposed to generic-looking woman that you can make, that especially in the game as from 2007, but the face designer, whatever the real term is, was awful. Even if you tried to build your own male Shepard, trying to make a face was just terrible. And
The comment I heard was that all created male shepherds look like a sack of potatoes in a train crash,
Yeah, I can see that.
which is not
Yeah.
far off.
yeah, I'm glad you went with that and not something incredibly offensive that needs editing out. But the female Shepherds also suffer from the same issue, just because you didn't have a default female face. You just had the whatever you designed the sack of potatoes in a train crash to look like, but with longer hair. But apart from the difficulty in making a decent-looking Shepard in terms of actual designing the face, I'm gonna probably kill off all of our listeners by saying I don't actually like Jennifer Hale.
That's okay.
That's
I'm-
cut.
I'm not a big fan of her voice work. I don't think I've actually had her play a role where I've actually thought, oh yeah, this is improved by being Jennifer Hale.
Fuck, sorry, I forgot where I first heard her. She did Bastila Shan in the first Knights of the Old Republic, which
Yep.
is
she
the
did.
first Bioware game I played,
Which was also awesome.
and is the most fun.
Yeah, Knights of the Old Republic 1 was fantastic. 2 suffered mainly because it was canned mid-development. Or
Yes.
rather, right at the end of development.
Yeah, they didn't have an ending.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Who knows, we might get a new Knights of the Old Republic game in the future, with Disney now at the helm and pushing out Star Wars games again. But
Sorry, I interrupted.
my dislike of Jennifer Hale's voice is because of her renegade side, which just makes her sound catty rather than actual any kind of aggression at all. She just sounds like just a giant space bitch rather than, a renegade maverick with no ties to the law whatsoever, just running around shooting people and asking questions later. So that's why I've mainly run with male Shepard. Again, because I play Renegade a lot. I'd say it's the more fun option, but since playing the Paragon side for my most recent run through, which I still haven't finished of the Mass Effect trilogy, I'm most of my way through Mass Effect 3. But the DLC is just extending that amount of time by a considerable amount.
It was big. I didn't play Mass Effect DLC for 3 for quite some time. I mean, probably 2 years after it was released. It took me to go back and play it again, if not longer, actually.
Now that all the DLC's out, and, well, Andromeda's out, I tell you what, it was a good time to play the Mass Effect trilogy again before Andromeda came out, because there's certain gameplay aspects that I'm definitely going to miss. Just going back to Mass Effect 1 from playing 3 and 2, there's certain bits of the gameplay that are missing from those when you go back to playing 1 that you really miss, like the ability to roll and decent cover mechanics. Whereas in Mass Effect 1, you're pretty much limited to, oh, here's a rock to stand near, and you're being shot at from all angles by Geth.
Yeah, but no ammo. No reloading, ever. That was my favourite bit about them.
No, I suppose. But if you played like I did and you kept changing the stuff inside your guns, occasionally you'd overheat all of your weapons all at once.
No, see, I'm not a terrible game player.
I found the combat in 1 really difficult. Partly because on PlayStation, the shooting buttons are the top buttons L1, R1 and not L2, R2. No.
R1 and
L2. It's the other way around. I was like, what? Why?
Don't know.
So I spent a long time getting confused with that, and Andromeda do it the same way, and I find that difficult.
R1, L1 rather than 2 and 2.
Because on Andromeda, I get set up, ready to zoom in and shoot someone, that no, you've just biotic charged into the middle of them.
Can you not switch the buttons around on that? Because it doesn't.
No,
the PlayStation 4
like
control it's got actual sensitive triggers. Why would they put it on the R1 on the bumpers essentially?
The main reason they did it on the PlayStation 3 is because the L2 and R2 were fucking
garbage.
awful.
Yeah, awful.
It was the worst, and that's why they added it, because you actually got responsive buttons instead of triggers that you would just let go of because they were shaped awfully and just it didn't make sense.
Yeah, I found that 1 was a fun place to explore, but not a fun game to play. I put the difficulty way, way down and just blitzed through it because I wanted to see how the story unfolded.
That was probably the only game I was really, really proud of getting 1000G on back in the day. I don't think it was my first, but I think it's the one where it was probably the first game that I actually just went back and did it because I enjoyed the game and not just because I wanted the 1000 point. Sad looking back.
I think I'm really one playthrough left to get 1000G, or rather the full 100%, because I've also got the DLC stuff. And I just need to play through on Insanity, because I don't think I'd actually...
It was hard.
It was too fucking difficult to do, and, well...
I didn't do it on 3. I did it on 2 as well. I aced 2. I never bothered with 3.
3 is surprisingly easy to do on Insanity. That's my current playthrough at the moment. But going back to 1, so you get the choice of which planets you go to first. Have you ever done Therum last? Going to get Liara?
Not after the first time I played the game. I can't remember the first. But I know that every time I played it after that, it was the first one I went to. So, I don't know. Yeah. What are the other choices? There's Noveria, isn't there, and Feros?
Yeah, it's Noveria, Feros, and then once you've done 2 of the planets, you unlock Virmire.
That's right. Which is where the base is, isn't it, on Virmire?
Yeah. But if you do those 3 planets first and then go back to doing Therum to pick up Liara, did you get those hilarious bits of dialogue because she's gone fucking insane by being, on her own, trapped in a stasis field for God knows how long while you've been doing, running around screwing Ashley or Caden, whichever your choice is.
I don't think so.
But if you do actually do it in that order, you essentially take a shit on her entire life's work because you tell her... Seriously, she spent her entire life's work trying to work out the Protheans, and you just flatly just say, well, I've discovered all of this to prove that the Reapers came along and killed all of the Protheans. She's not happy about that.
I imagine she wouldn't... to be fair, if I did a bit of work at work, I know that's a tall order, I guess, but, even if it took me half an hour, I'd be angry. somebody for losing it. So, an entire life's work disproven in what, 4 hours by the time you get there? Done. Sorry, love. Pack your bags, we're going.
Sorry, love, you're completely useless to us right now. Sorry.
Oh, what? Oh, no, you can do Singularity. Great, you're in. Sold. Have a pistol.
Okay. Now, you are on Vermeer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when you're presented with the opportunity of essentially choosing whether Rex lives or dies?
That seems so strange, because it was a conflict that was forced for no good reason.
Yeah.
So I just said, guys, just step back, chill out, and we didn't kill Rex.
Yep.
It seemed such a strange thing that would even be an option.
It is completely left field in terms... I mean, considering you've spent the entire game chasing down Saren, he discovers that Saren's trying to cure the genophage, and it just sort of, out of nowhere, he's just thinking that the lines are a bit blurred, when in reality, he's not trying to cure the genophage, he's just trying to build himself a Krogan army. And at one point, before that, Rex even says that he's killing Krogan because either A, they're stupid, or B, they're trying to kill you. And in general, Rex is very happy with the fact that he's killing Krogan. But yeah, I don't understand how anyone could have let Rex die. Even specifically going before, you actually have to choose to kill him. That's what I don't understand, how people have actually let him die. It's not difficult to not have him die.
I never let him die. He was too good a character. Plus, they described the army as unstoppable, and when they said that, bearing in mind that you'd not really gotten to know Rex that well up to that point, had just sort of been in the team with the odd conversation in a lift, that made me think, well, if Krogan are unstoppable, why would I kill this guy? Look at him. He's amazing. He's a giant lizard in a spacesuit.
Yeah. And now, for the second impossible task on Vermeer, Ashley or Kaidan?
No question.
I killed Kaidan on the grounds that I knew a bit. When I got to 1, I'd already played a bit of 2 and 3, so I knew that, and from speaking to her, I knew that Ashley was a space racist. So I want to at least see how her character develops, whereas Kaidan doesn't have much of a character. So purely on the grounds of she'll at least be interesting, maybe not pleasant, but at least interesting. And talking to her was interesting. All my family are in the military. I've got sisters who you need to look out for. That was fine, but I didn't care about Kaidan.
Yeah.
Ashley, every time she died, I hated her. I couldn't stand her. I found her quite boring. I mean, she was just a soldier, and there's plenty of them. And we see stories about soldiers all the time. Kaidan looked like this damaged little cretin who needed somebody to put their arm around him and give him a big cuddle. And I was going to be that guy, or girl. Depends on which one I was playing. But I felt like he needed the help. Plus, he was voiced by the same geezer that voiced, is it Karth Anasi or something in Star Wars?
Oh.
He was voiced by the same guy, and I'd not long played Knights of the Old Republic 2, which is, was it 1? I don't know, one or the other. And then he was in that, and I was like, oh, it's the same boy, so I'll save him then. And then I just ended up saving him every time because I just never clicked with Ashley. I didn't get it. And I didn't click with Ashley until quite recently when I read one of the comics where it tells you the story of what happens to Ashley just before you meet up with her on Eden Prime at the start. And it tells you what happened to her up until that point, and that made her a little bit more agreeable. I guess I could go back, but she's still a huge space racist. Most of my family are racist. I listen to that crap all the time, so I don't need it in a game as well.
But I'm with Lee on this one, because I've killed Ashley a lot, but I've also killed Kaidan a lot. I mean, I've played a lot. I've got a lot of playthroughs. But Ashley's character is a space racist who later becomes essentially an alcoholic space racist.
He wants some booze.
It's the Alan Partridge rule. She's a drunk and a racist, Lynn. I'll tolerate one, but not both.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's that. Whereas Caden's character there's almost nothing to him in the first one, and absolutely. Number 2, once again, there's more nothing. But you can say the same with Ashley. She's barely in it, apart from that tiny bit of poetry that she does. Or if you're male shepherd and you decide to sleep with Ashley in it, then you get a bit of extra, almost romance where she gives you a hug on Horizon when you get there. But in terms of Mass Effect 3, the character development of Caden, especially if you're playing as male shepherd, the reason his character develops so much more because as male shepherd you discover essentially that he is in fact a closet homosexual throughout 1 and 2, which explains his lack of character as such because he hasn't come out.
He's not been being himself.
So it's despite not being an actual story at all, it actually has an overall outcome that kind of makes sense, that is essentially by complete accident in terms of his character in 1 to how it finishes in 3 because they decided to add gay people. I know that I just gone from being really profound to being a complete twat in the space of a sentence.
That's not unusual.
I was introduced to Caden by playing 2, 3 and then 1. In 2, he's this guy who seems to know me, and who the fuck are you? On Horizon. And then in 3, I've got 2 stubbly dudes on my team, James, who we'll come back to. And Caden's like, I don't care about you guys. And then I met him in 1 with that, not indifference, but antipathy. Shut up.
But if you ever get around to playing it again, then I thoroughly recommend playing as male shepherd and completely foregoing the whole romance side of it, and then discovering or at least watching the videos in Mass Effect 3 of male shepherd and Caden, romancing.
It definitely makes more sense about how bitchy he gets in number 2.
Yeah. Because it does kind of fall into the whole Caden is just thinking that the reason things never really happened between you is because you just seemed so busy. The whole stopping the Reapers, Saren, and the Collectors, that he just couldn't be himself because you were busy all the time. And it makes it more sweet. It makes it a sweet romance overall. So yeah, you kind of missed out on that one, I guess.
Oh well.
I had it on 1 playthrough.
I quite like that you can make choices that will deny you an important part of story, because you do get the what if.
Yeah.
Because life has got opportunity costs and what ifs, and I like that by making a choice for someone, you will be denied other bits.
Yeah, it's
you cannot have everything in the game because people won't give you everything.
I wonder if anyone will ever release a game that gives you all of these sort of choices, but then stops you from being able to play it again.
Is Undertale like that?
I don't know.
Does Undertale do weird things to try to replay?
No idea.
I think if you try and reload a save, it doesn't let you or something.
I think you've got to actually not just uninstall it, but take it out your registry on your computer. But it's designed for a thing. I know very little about it, but I know that.
Neat.
Did any of you guys play the DLC for number 1?
Yes.
No.
I can't remember it.
Well, that you know of, you didn't play the DLC, Brian, because I think Bring Down the Sky was just part of the PlayStation 3's version.
What is Bring Down the Sky?
I do remember that.
Asteroid X-57. You meet the Batarians, and you have to try and stop an asteroid from smashing into Terra Nova, I think the planet was.
That was the first time they introduced the Batarians as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there was all those codex entries of the Batarians and the history of humans versus Batarians, and you're like, well, who the fuck are Batarians? I've not met them. And then you open up a shed, essentially, and there you go. You're greeted with these guys with 4 eyes and Varen.
But that's so strange because the DLC for 2 is also smash an asteroid into Batarian planet.
No, it was blow up a relay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, smash a relay to smithereens.
500,000 Batarians.
Yeah.
The Batarians were trying to kill humans with the meteor, though, weren't they? Didn't they put Mass Effect fields on the back of a meteor and try to smash it into an Earth-based planet?
Yes, it was they were trying to move the meteor into an orbit of Terra Nova, I think it was. I don't know why they wanted to move the meteor into orbit to give them an extra satellite. I guess they were trying to create a moon effect, I guess, for the tide, possibly, or something stupid. I didn't really pay attention to that part, but Batarian terrorists take over the mining drills or the rockets onto the side of the asteroid to try and smash it into the most densely populated area of one of humanity's biggest colonies out in space.
I like that one. Because that was the one that introduced you to the fact that Batarian, you can't lie to a Batarian, and that always tickled me. Because they've got 4 eyes. Also, after that, I started putting, instead of when we used to do smiley faces, I used to put 2 sets or 2 colons and then a smile. So it was a Batarian smiley face, because I'm a huge knob and a geek.
Yep.
Although I think my wife found it funny for the first time I did it, and that was it. Pretty much the same as most of my jokes.
They're funny once, then never do it again. Have you noticed that since you married her that none of your jokes are funny?
Yes. But then, yeah, got a lot going on, I suppose, or something. I don't know. Peace, mate. Maybe I was just never funny and she was desperate for my seed.
That's it. Now that you are a father and you're married to her, she doesn't care about you.
I just need
anymore.
to sit back and really take a look at my life history, don't I? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It was worth it. Mostly.
So, but back to topic. Bring Down the Sky actually brings us an impossible choice, which is having to save some scientists and let a terrorist escape, or in the middle of this conversation, if you choose to not save the scientists, he blows them up immediately. There's no 2 ways. You can't have your cake and eat it. It's not like a typical, if you're quick enough at defeating this enemy, you can get back and save the people. It's right in the conversation. You have, I'm not going to let you go. Boom. Dead scientists.
Yep, that was tough. But kind of refreshing at the same time.
It was an actual interesting element to add to the game, especially later on, Mass Effect 3, where if you choose to let that Batarian live, makes a return in one of the many and varied side quests that doesn't show up if you don't do the Bring Down the if you don't touch Bring Down the Sky in any way, or if you kill him, I guess. Can't really show up again if he's dead.
You say that. I had somebody come back from the dead in 3. I walked into a room in the Citadel and Zaid Masani got shot and died in front of me. No, Zaid, last time I saw you were on fire in the refinery. Apparently it didn't take.
Yep.
Was that the geezer with one eye, the DLC from 2? Yes. Yeah, okay. He was fun.
I liked Zaid Masani. And the second DLC, which Brian you didn't get because it was never released on PlayStation, but it was Pinnacle Station, which was a load of arse.
It was just deathmatch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was you and your team in a horde mode of a load of absolute bollocks that just was unnecessary. But
I'm angry on your behalf because when Bioshock Infinite announced DLC, there were 3 of them. 1 was that same idea, Clash in the Clouds, and 2 were Burial at Sea, which can eat a dick. We'll do that later.
The only good thing that came out of Pinnacle Station was when you completed it and you got the top rank at the end of it, you got the chance to go to an apartment on a random planet that looks onto a giant sun, and it looks really pretty, and out of that you get 2 codex entries to give you an achievement, and a load of minerals, I think. Are minerals a thing in 1, or are they just ignored minerals in number 1? You get a load of something.
Stuff.
Yeah, I think a gun and some armor, a special.
And because it was really so far after the main game, it was useless anyway.
Yeah.
The armor in 1 really annoyed me because, for a start, you're on that treadmill of equipment. Everything you find is better than something you've got to keep upgrading. And then you find stuff and think, this is better, but I'm wearing leopard skin armor.
Oh, God,
I think I'll drop down 2 levels and go back to wearing green, because that's at least inoffensive.
Yeah, I think Bring Down the Sky introduced a new armor type. I think it was the Colossus armor, or at least something similar, where it was black with red highlights in it. So the armor was black, but the under armor was red. And once you had that, that was it. That was the only armor you needed. Nothing else came close to that armor in any of those 3 sliders that gave you the details. It was like there was literally no point in having any of the others, because even the ones that were, because it was always a choice. You wear this armor and it had higher armor, but it had lower shields, and there was the third one. I don't even know what that was. I think it was like dampening, so how you were affected by biotics, I guess. But the Colossus was the highest in all 3 of them. It wasn't like it was higher in one and then there was another one that was better at another. It was literally that even the one that was the best at high armor was worse than the Colossus armor. So it was completely pointless to have anything else.
Yep.
So there's that.
Yeah, I don't remember much about the armor, and I remember the weapons vaguely.
The special Spectre weapons.
Yeah.
It was all about eventually getting it so that you ended up having a gun you never needed to reload.
Pretty much.
Oh, and always having Garrus in your team with a sniper rifle that had the high explosive rounds.
Yeah. Although sniper rifles were good in the first game, they've not really been amazingly useful since the first game.
Well, the sniper rifles in the first game were incredibly useful because if you had either Garrus or Ashley who could carry them and use them and actually be trained with them, the number of times I was just walking along in a group of enemies and all of a sudden there was one that was just standing near me and then just disappeared because they've just been hit with a sniper rifle with an extra 5,000% force from the explosive rounds, and they're not there anymore. They're gone. It's just just the sheer entertainment value of walking along, there's an enemy, and then you just hear a thump, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
It's something to behold, especially after a while of playing it, and it just keeps happening. Especially when it's Geth. Just having a Geth just whine at you and then just disappear.
Oh, God, I loved Legion.
Other amusing parts of Mass Effect 1, Krogan's charging if you were biotic and you could use lift. So you'd have a Krogan sprinting at you, and you use lift, and they would just go. It was like they did a pole vault. They just disappeared.
I'm not sure I did that, but it sounds funny. I've got 3 copies of the first game. I had to put it in again.
Just to try out these funny things. Anyone who's listening to this, these are all things that you just need to see once, and just just thinking about it. It also works with Geth.
Destroyers. Was it Destroyers?
No, not the
big ones.
It might be the Destroyers. The big red
Prime.
ones, the ones that occasionally run at you. Geth Prime, yeah. Geth Prime, because they also run at you occasionally. If you lift on those, they just go. Yeah. Especially if you're on the low gravity section of the Citadel when you're actually outside doing the last mission. Yeah. Are we done for one?
I'd only say one more thing, which is someone told me that you have 1 for setting, 2 for characters, and 3 for action. And there's what's the level in 1 where you're at this research station / hotel before you get to the Rachni?
Noveria planet, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very cool and interesting setting. One felt like it's an actual universe that's got stuff in it. The stuff's all identical, but it did feel like space is very big and empty, but sometimes things happen in it. The Mako missions were dull, but there was space is a big, empty, dull place. And you've got planets on the horizon, and it's beautiful, and just pootling about is, I wouldn't say fun, but there's atmosphere in it. There's lots of atmosphere in 1. And the story and the setting, it's done very well.
Agreed. It's worth a play. If you've not played it, you really should play it.
I mean, I think Andrew has even played Mass Effect 1 a full playthrough because I forced him, and like I said, he's got the trilogy.
He's still not feeling it though, is he?
He still doesn't feel it.
It feels odd without him here as well.
I think the reason he doesn't like it is because he doesn't have that kind of time to sink into playing a game for the near 60 hours that you need to get the full experience. You can't. It's not a game you can play once. I mean,
I played it once.
Okay, you can play
I did
it
play
once.
it once. Then I played it again.
But it's the different amount of stuff that you can get for playing it. Like you mentioned Noveria. I've only recently, and I mean in the most recent playthrough I put onto it, discovered that you can go down and kill all the Rachni in the hot labs before going and meeting Liara's mum.
Benazia.
I didn't know that was possible until my most recent playthrough. And if you do it that way, then it completely negates a large section of the research facility, because all of those people in the research facility are now hiding somewhere, I'm guessing, because you're now public enemy number one for all of the Noveria security. The ones that you just saved from that first wave of Rachni inside whatever that the commander's name is. Because he's actually on the Matriarch Benezia's payroll this entire time, which you wouldn't know if you hadn't gone to the hot labs first. So there is sections of the story that you're just completely missing if you don't play it more than once and you see different things. So there's that.
Well, it's nice to poke fun at Brooker that he doesn't like it though at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
so,
you're not lonely without him here, are you? I can say I can say the
I'm
word
a little
goth
lonely.
a few times.
Yeah.
In a deeper voice. Would that work?
Yeah, that would work. That'd be nice.
Goth.
There we go. I'm happy now.
Nice.
So, 2010, we get Mass Effect 2. So, as Brian said, you play the first one for the setting, play 2 for the characters. Now, Mass Effect 2 had characters in abundance. There's the introduction of so many new NPCs and interesting people that it's brilliant in its own right. So, the game starts with, spoiler, Commander Shepard dies. That's
great opening, to be fair.
It's scenic
if
as
not
well.
One of the best openings.
I mean, yes, you lose a large portion of the crew in the first place, and you lose the other space racist that is Presley right at the start.
Plus, it also makes sense for the fact that it's probably the only game that makes sense in a sequel where you've actually lost all your abilities for a good reason, because you were dead.
Yep. Yes.
And not just, oh, well, it's a sequel, you haven't got your abilities anymore, tough shit.
But it also made it convenient because you could essentially change your class as well, because you were dead. So you come back, you die in the first, you go play the first one as a soldier or whatever because you think, or a biotic, and you go into the second one. Oh, I want to be a vanguard because they have charge. Or
in fairness, vanguards are the best.
Or you play as the infiltrator because invisibility, or you play as the sentinel because you get the tech armor. And if you're playing on the harder difficulties, that tech armor saves your fucking life.
Yeah.
There's something about the ability to, oh shit, I've just lost all my shields. I know, I will press Y, and my tech armor will explode in a big fireball, and I have full shields again. And all the enemies around me are dead. So there's that.
On my second playthrough, I went for a soldier, and having a sniper rifle and whatever it is that slows everything down, it's absolutely lethal.
That's the one I used for my Insanity playthrough. It was just too good.
Is it called Turbocharge in Andromeda? Is that?
No, in Turbocharge in Andromeda is different. It makes all of your guns fire faster.
Right.
Adrenaline Rush.
Right.
That makes everything slow down.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was like the soldier's defining move, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the only good thing.
Yeah.
The sniper rifles, I believe, had a concentration mod in 3, as I believe, that made the time slow down when you zoomed in on a sniper rifle scope, which is quite cool. Infuriating sometimes, but quite cool. But after Shepard dies and you get brought back to life by the lovely Miranda Lawson.
Yep.
And that's where I'll keep that. So it doesn't really matter who I picked as my love interest in Mass Effect 1. Miranda Lawson was always the one I picked in 2.
I considered
although,
it.
as FemShep, I guess, on playthroughs you can't really pick Miranda, so who did I go for in the end on 2?
It was definitely
Usually
Jack.
Garrus.
I'm sure you went with Jack.
As FemShep, you can't pick Jack. She's
No, FemShep's all going to be limited.
Oh, that's right.
It's Kelly, Garrus, Jacob, Thane.
Femshep really gets
Liara.
screwed over on the whole choices. Only if you had Lair the Shadow Broker, you got Liara. But Femshep was really fucked over in terms of romantic choices, seeing as what happens in 3, you you don't get 2/3 of your options anymore.
Yes.
I carried on with the female, the bold one, carried the character through. And Lair the Shadow Broker weren't out, so initially I went with Thane, I think, on my first one, who I found to be one of my favourite game characters of all time. Really, really enjoyed it. I read all the codexes about the drill and stuff like that. I found them really quite interesting. And the way that they introduced the race as well, I think that's what made it more, a bit more interesting, I think, rather than just dumping you in and being really surprised by it. So, yeah.
Rather than opening up a shed door and seeing a load of Batarians, what you instead got was a Drell slide out of a vent and murder a bitch right up in your face.
Pretty much, yeah, that'd be it. That was just like I was like, oh my god, this guy's so cool, and I'm gonna do you, sort of thing.
I found I didn't have any M3 connection for him. It didn't help that his loyalty mission was just bullshit.
Oh god, yeah, that was bad.
So
yeah.
I ended up saying, look, I've played it 3 times, I'm just going to let his son kill someone. And then he'll not be loyal, he won't speak to me, no big loss. He can sit in life support and sulk for all I care.
Is that the one? That is the one where you had to follow through the crap in the ceiling, ain't it? Yeah, that was fucking tedious, man.
It's a completely non-combat loyalty quest. Is it possible to not get Thane's loyalty? I didn't realise that was a thing.
If you let his son kill someone.
Wow.
If you lose the people, then his son goes to kill the politician and the quest fails.
Okay.
But the scenes, obviously, if you did save him and you were made good friends, the scenes in 3 were really good, following on from that. So, potato.
So, Mass Effect 2. Now, that, as we said, that's the one that brought characters. Now, Mass Effect 1 had 6 companions total, although you lose 1, possibly 2. Whereas Mass Effect 2, you have 12. Now, as someone who played Mass Effect 2 a lot, I can definitely confirm that I only really had eyes for carrying Garrus with me everywhere, and then the other one was just whoever that loyalty quest was for, was the other person. There's a couple of times when having specific characters for certain loyalty quests gave you extra dialogue, like doing Miranda's loyalty quest. You take Jack with you, then you get the bit of unique dialogue of when Miranda says that, are we going to do this or are we going to fight? And then the mercenary replies with, as soon as you put on your armor, or does Cerberus really let you slut around like that? And then Jack replies with, I like her, are we done recruiting? Can we keep her?
If I had the option, I'd have Jack and Miranda with me all the time. Not because it would do anything, but I thought, you two need to be friends. Why can't you just get along? We'll come along to all the missions. Which is fine, so you go on a mission and go, it's Geth, and I've got 2 biotics.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home and I'll get someone else. But yeah, I liked Miranda, I liked Jack. Jack's character becomes really interesting in 3. I think she, more than anybody, has some actual character growth. And I thought, why can't they be friends? And B, how soon can I do Jack's loyalty mission so she can get a sweater?
First things first, did anybody anywhere in the history of mankind and Mass Effect 2 playthroughs ever take Jacob Taylor with them anywhere?
I don't think his character was so bad. It was completely unbelievable as a whole.
I didn't feel him. I took him on his loyalty mission. Bless him. I didn't take him anywhere else.
I took him on the first mission because you have to have him because you don't have anyone else.
True.
But as soon as I got Zaid Masani on Omega from doing the first mission, that was it. It was right from the start. It was Miranda and Zaid because Jacob can go fuck himself back in his goddamn armory, doing his goddamn sit-ups or whatever the fuck. And as soon as then you unlock Garrus, that was it. It was Zaid was gone for Garrus to be around with Miranda.
I
then
really like the characters in 2, and I found it quite tough to choose quite often. So I generally just sort of depended on where we were going, who I would take. Because although I was a firm fan of sticking Legion with Tali, obviously for obvious reasons. Always good fun.
I would tend to go with a biotic and a tech, so Tali and Jack, or Tali and Miranda, or Tali and Samara. Having 3 biotics who are actually fun, interesting characters, whereas Samara, Jack and Miranda, made choosing people difficult. I'd take Grunt, because Grunt is my precious baby.
Oh, he's amazing. I've got a little model somewhere. I think he's on my wall.
It's good because I'm Grunt's mum, and I'm fine with that. I'm so proud of him. And like his role in 3 and in Citadel is the best. Grunt's here. I liked having Kasumi because she's got cool powers and her dialogue's quite fun.
Yeah.
Her loyalty quest is probably the most entertaining one.
Yeah.
Because what's Donovan Hawk?
That's a DLC, so it's a bigger one.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Kasumi's loyalty quest just because I like the guy who voices Donovan Hawk's voice. I don't actually know what his name is at all. I'm a big fan of that accent.
Yeah, that's what I think Grunt helped sell that to me because it's Steve Blum who is also Wolverine. So I was ultra sold on Grunt the minute I heard him.
Did you listen to Athletico Mints?
No,
I do not.
Oh, Bob Mortimer did a South African accent, and now that's all I can think of when I think of Donovan Hawk.
Okay then.
Brooker, that gets cut as well.
Got it. You know he's probably going to just not bother with those.
I think that's fine. And no one could have heard the tumbleweed anyway, so you're all right. Don't worry about it.
He plays Ken Donnelly as well.
Yes, Ken Donnelly.
And he plays Vitor. Oh, who's that Quarian mercenary in Tali's mission?
Riga.
Carl Riga.
Carl Riga. He was cool.
Yeah, Carl Riga's pretty cool.
Is he not voiced by someone important as well?
Yes, he is voiced by someone famous.
It sounds like J.K. Simmons, but I don't think it is.
They had some really good voice work in the original trilogy.
Yeah, they had Martin Sheen as the Elusive Man.
Excellent choice.
He was quality.
He looked amazing too.
I have separate reservations. The Elusive Man that I'll save for later when we move on to the. Carl Riga was Adam Baldwin.
Yep. Is he the guy from Firefly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he not a space racist?
What? Who? Adam Baldwin? Probably.
He endorsed Ted Cruz. Oh no, yeah, he's a Gamergator. That's where he comes from.
Yep. So, the other thing for Mass Effect 2 is the fact that you can. You've got 12 characters, but you don't need all of them. I haven't done this personally, but my next playthrough after Andromeda of Mass Effect is that I'm going to do minimalist, and I'm only going to pick up the mandatory characters. So Mordin, Garrus, and I think you need to do a couple of missions before you unlock getting the IFF code and Legion. So I'm going to get, and because I've done this before where I've recruited Tali post-game after having done the collector base, because you can continue, after doing the collector base you can continue. If you take Legion with you to collect Tali, you get some pretty entertaining bits of script from the random Quarians, including Carl Riga, when you turn up and there's a Geth behind you, because his opening line is, "Look out behind you, there's a Geth there." And Shepard just turns around and was like, "Well, yeah, that's Legion, mate. It's fine."
It did. I loved taking him onto the Quarian home ships. That was too, wasn't it?
Yep.
Because I thought it'd be chaotic, but because it's a game, it's always going to fall foul of the same problem. Is that they've just not put enough effort into everyone going ape shit when they see a Geth. Bearing in mind they've been fighting them for a couple of centuries. Kind of similar to a lot of games, I guess.
It'd be good if you take Legion onto the Quarian ship and he just gets headshot when you come out the airlock.
See, that's the sort of thing I was hoping for. But you kind of just walk around and no one, obviously because they're all NPCs, none of them even turn their heads. It's just, you think, oh, he's just casually strolling through, it's alright, don't worry about it.
It's like when you finally romance Morinth and you die.
Yeah, it's just instant critical game over.
I think, I don't know whether I actually did that or not in the end. I
I
probably
couldn't
did.
unlock Morinth because even on my Renegade playthrough, because I was doing some bits that were Paragon quests, like if you complete this one, you get Paragon points. I couldn't ever actually get to unlocking Morinth.
Samara's loyalty quest, again non-combat, is probably the most difficult one to get the final Paragon Renegade choice. You actually need to get your Paragon or Renegade to full in order to get that final choice.
I thought you had to have 75% of all the options you've been given. You have to have picked one way or the other. But the first time I did it, I got the Paragon choice and went, I'll pick Samara. But when I tried to do it as Renegade, I couldn't.
You can pick to save Morinth or Samara. It's just that you need to be able to make that final choice.
Yeah, that was
Paragon or Renegade to choose between them.
Yeah, the first time I did it, when I was Paragon, I was given that choice. The other time it was just, nope, they're greyed out.
Yeah, I think I've only ever managed to choose Morinth once, and since Morinth gives you Dominate power if you from that loyalty quest. So that's basically AI hack, but for organic life forms rather than machines.
Can you not get that from who's the Prothean guy?
Yeah, went on to 3.
Does he not have done it?
No, he's in Mass Effect 3. He has.
It is Dominate.
Dark Channel.
Yeah, it's the same thing, though, isn't it?
Right.
No, Dark Channel was the one that was basically a viral infection which slowly killed them. It was basically warp, but green.
Poison, then.
Yeah, it was warp with
It's
poison.
Final Fantasy VII Poison.
Yeah, but yeah, you had to get Morinth to unlock Dominate in Mass Effect 2.
Jack was. I'm sure Jack was one that you had to get as well, wasn't she? On 2. That was before you got your first intel from the Elusive Man.
Is there a way to do Jack's mission without getting the email from the murderer at the end?
I don't know.
Because you always get a thing in your inbox to say, "Hi Shepard, thanks for letting me off wherever it is. The next 100 people I kill will be in your name."
Possibly. I think you just need to not talk to him.
But talking about email, I got an email in 2 from Talia, who's the girl you see in the docks in Citadel, who's she's in a standoff with C-Sec, and she's going to get C-Sec to shoot her if she doesn't put the gun down. You have to go and talk and say, "No, hold on, love, it'll be okay." And you take a little step towards her, and she gets all stressed, so you calm her down, take a step towards her, and disarm her with a big hug. And you get an email from her too to say, "Thanks very much, Shepard. I'm glad you looked after me. My life is now doing this, this, and this." And I thought, "Oh, that's why you do things like this."
That's why you're a nice person.
No, but the game, it rewards you for doing anything, but you can see the effects that your actions have. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. I just really appreciated all the thank you letters I got, because Commander Shepard is a big deal. You are a hero to people. You get a "Please help me, Shepard" email that is not a quest. Is someone robbing something? Saying, "Dear Shepard, my brother's been taken by collectors. Can you help?" The answer is no, you can't. The game won't let you.
Yeah.
And that whole opening up a wider world of you becoming this myth, but also bringing in what actual people think, that was very cool.
Going back to it, getting Jack I think is mandatory, because I think you need at least one full biotic. So either Jack or Samara for the final collector base, I think. Or you'd end up losing a character. Which was probably the best part about the very end. It was the only good thing of the collector base, was that you had to choose people and your choices mattered. It wasn't just you go into the area, I need to take someone you need to put a tech specialist into the first section. So you pick either Legion, Tally, or Kasumi if you had the first DLC, Stolen Memory. But you pick one of those three. If you pick anyone else, they die.
Yeah,
Or
it had
no,
to be
not them.
Tech, didn't it?
Yeah,
Although,
if
to
you-
be fair, I remember the first time I played it, I sent Legion down there because he was always on my team. He was pro character, had done all his, and he died. To this day, I still don't know how he died because I'd done all his missions. Obviously, I reloaded the save and did it again, and he survived. So it beats me. God knows why.
When you actually, that doesn't.
I think
Make
it might have
sense
just
at
been a
all.
glitch, or did I have to open a door for him or something? I can't remember now.
No, because it wasn't the tech specialist who died in doing that. It was one of the. I think it was either the person on your team or one of the other people died because they couldn't get the doors open fast enough because you didn't have You didn't have one of the 3 tech specialists.
That might have been it. I can't remember. It's been quite a while since that happened. Saved everyone on every other playthrough, I think.
And then you go into the second section where now the first playthrough I did, it was you had of the people you had to choose to be the second fire team leader. You had to be A. Miranda, B. Garrus, or C. Jacob. Anyone else, and they would die. Or if Garrus or Jacob didn't have loyalty, they would die. Miranda would survive if you picked her as the fire team leader, regardless if she was loyal or not. Which I thought was an interesting part to the game. Now, first time I played through that section, I picked Zaid because I thought, he was the leader of the Blue Suns. He's a natural-born leader. No, that wasn't counted, and he fucking died. I was quite sad about that one. I liked Zaid. Zaid's probably my favourite of the characters.
Zaid, I always made sure he died. When we go on his mission, when we go on his mission, and the mission is getting folk from a refinery, he says, "Oh no, the mission is revenge," and he fucks up, puts the refinery on fire. I played it doing it his way, and you can hear the screaming as you fight through the refinery. But my thing was always, which one of us is Commander Shepard? That'll be me. Who's in charge? That's also me. Fucking get in line, soldier. You fucked up, so now you get to be crushed by falling scaffolding and die in flames. Sad times, deal with it.
I'll be honest, I quite like the ending to Zaid if you'd made the renegade choice, obviously, in that one, which was to actually kill Vito Santiago, which was that he was set on fire by a thermal clip. Now, as far as video game deaths go, that is pretty fucking gruesome.
I do remember that. That was cool. That was like the old school sort of movie thing where they'd walk away from a petrol and then chuck a Zippo down on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Except it was, futuristic and suave.
If we're talking favourite things in 2, I know you like this, John. Can you do Project Overlord?
Yeah.
Because it's the setting is very creepy and unnerving. This base that's been taken over, and you have a computer screaming at you. You don't know what it is. You don't know why. And it's got I thought this was by far the hardest choice in all the Mass Effect games, the one you get at the end. I've done it both ways, and I'm not sure which one's right.
Didn't Overlord tie in quite heavily with one of the books as well? Was it Ascension, the second?
Yeah.
Because it was about the experiments that they were doing on kids and stuff, weren't it? And
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Overlord tied in heavily because it mentions... I can't remember who it is, but they mention one of the guys who's heavily addicted to red sand in
Paul
some
Grayson.
way. Yeah, there's a lot of throwback to Grayson because it's a big Cerberus.
Yeah, he was
general.
one of not protagonist or antagonist really in the second and third book. He was a major character though.
Yeah, but Overlord itself. I mean, now it's clearly I've mentioned this many times before. Horror is not my genre. Overlord is about as scary as I can go, and to be honest, Overlord is pretty fucking creepy and scary. Playing it for the first ever time, I was shitting my pants practically playing it for the first time. But not just that. I can play it now, and generally I play with pretty decent noise cancelling headphones. But walking along, the volume turned up nicely, sitting in front of the nice warm glow of your monitor, lights off, it's dark. You've got pretty decent headphones playing the noise to you. You're walking along, and then all of a sudden you have this computer screaming at you, "Please make it stop." Shit your fucking pants. And
tough.
And as a choice goes at the end, picking whether or not you send David to stay with his brother or to be sent to the Alliance. Now, I'm glad that it's something that's then brought out in Mass Effect 3, the follow-up to that.
You see both of them, or you can see both of them.
Yeah. The choice is either you see both of them, or you get an email, I think, or something. There's mention to it, and the fact that David dies, I think, in the next experiment, and I think it works against you in some way, and I can't remember what it is. But it not only does he die, but he also takes out a large number of soldiers, and it does a big negative impact on your overall Crucible assets.
But
the
first time I did it, I thought, because Gavin Archer says, if this work stops 1 million mothers from losing 1 million sons, I'm okay with that. Very good point.
Yeah.
However, it's a man who's clearly in pain and wants it to stop, and it's a man who can't do anything to protect himself, and surely your job is to protect people. So what do you do?
I mean, his brother is a mathematical savant, as he described it. Also written as clearly suffering from either Asperger's or some form of autism.
Yeah, I would put it on that scale. Portrayed on that scale, at least.
But he's completely unable to protect himself from what's going on around him. But he doesn't understand that the reason to why he's doing this. He's just having fun chatting to the funny robots, in his words. And then his world is completely destroyed by the only family he has. So it was a relatively easy choice in the end to tell Gavin to go fuck himself.
Yeah, the first time I did it, I left David with Gavin and I felt so guilty. And that stuck with me. That still sticks with me.
I think I'll go one better than that. I actually took great pleasure in making Gavin sweat in Mass Effect 3 when you bump into the fucker.
Oh, I did that the second time then.
And I made him shoot himself.
Didn't do that.
So it's actually quite a good thing.
If we're talking autism, like David is clearly on very one end of the autistic spectrum. Did I send you the link about Shepard? How you can read Shepard as being autistic?
I don't think so, but
right.
I may want to see that later. If you link the character unlock stuff, then we'll.
Well, I can talk you through it now. Yeah, because that's one of the reasons that made me think this is an interesting sort of game to play. Because Shepard's got social scripts that they stick with. Like it's always I should go at the end, and they're fine in certain situations because they know what to do. And when you go off script with them, like dancing, then they go, "This is confusing. Let's go back to things I know I can deal with." The whole idea about sometimes I have difficulty in relating to other people. Like, I've seen the Prothean VI. How can you not understand the Reapers are coming? I've seen the evidence. And this inability to see things from someone else's way, to get that other people don't know what you know, can be part of the empathy level of autism stuff. And that was one of the things, because I read a blog post about it, that was one thing that made me think this could be a thing that would make a bit of sense.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and that actually makes a hell of a lot of sense.
And the post I'm talking about says, basically, Shepard is Space James Bond, and is also autistic. Well, autistic doesn't need to be like David Archer with no ability to interact with the rest of the world. Shepard interacts particularly well in a particular way, but not in all the ways. And that's been a good way to look at the world.
So, next DLC, I mean, we've mentioned Zaid, The Price of Revenge, Kasumi, Stolen Memory, Overlord. We got Lair of the Shadow Broker. Now, the interesting part of Lair of the Shadow Broker is that the set time frame for this in the actual overall canon story is just around the exact time when Hyperion goes off to Andromeda, as confirmed by the BioWare team. So, nice tie-in for Andromeda there.
Yeah. Also,
but it means
had
that
the comic that led up to the Shadow Broker as well, the Redemption comic.
Yep. But with Lair of the Shadow Broker, that means that there's a lot of information out there, and includes the fact that there's at least one tie-in in Andromeda to the Shadow Broker himself, and you actually know who the Shadow Broker is at the time of it, which is the Yarg.
Who's ultra cool character, and I'm gutted that we didn't get to see more of him other than that slight cameo in 3 and a couple of Codex entries.
I quite liked the cameo in 3, especially if you took Liara with you.
What cameo in 3?
When you go to Sakesh to get the female Krogan, if you take Liara with you when the Yarg breaks out of containment, and Shepard will say, "There goes the next Shadow Broker," and Liara replies with, "That's not funny."
Yes, I remember that.
So there's Lair of the Shadow Broker, where you, as Commander Shepard, once you've unlocked Ilium, and you've done a couple of missions for Liara on Ilium, you give her the information of the location of the Shadow Broker himself. And from that, you travel to Liara's apartment, discover she's no longer there because someone's took a shot at her. You meet a fellow Spectre, try and find Liara, and that's where you discover that Spectre was in fact working against you, trying to kill Liara because she's in league with the Shadow Broker, which is technically against the Spectre code. And after you kill Visir in the middle of a restaurant, after going through an erotic hotel, what's the name of the hotel? Azure.
Oh no, I like erotic hotel. I think you should just call it that.
But it goes through the erotic hotel Azure, where you get another piece of amusing dialogue between Shepard and Liara, where he questions. She says that it's named for a part of the Asari body, and she says in certain places, in certain areas, it's known as a part of the Asari body. He replies with which part, and she says mainly the lower reaches near the bottom. Replied with, "Oh, I meant where on the body." So did I.
It's the way you tell
cheeky. Very cheeky.
It is. It's exactly the way that I say it that makes it more funny.
What, that sort of that kind of monotone?
Yep.
I've never really spoken to a woman voice.
It's why it makes sense for me to tell these things.
Maybe
and not you.
I'm with the nice conspiracy theory that Shepard's mentally ill. I like that.
Shepard being mentally ill certainly makes that exchange being a lot more entertaining. But then you move to Hagalaz, a planet which is in perpetual day-night cycle of extreme heat and boiling water, and then the oceans freeze over at night time. So there's a permanent thunderstorm going around where the day-night cycle is, which means that there's a perfect place for a ship to hide. And it's where you discover the ship with incredible inertia dampeners, which make an appearance in Mass Effect 3, which led to a amusing indoctrination conspiracy theory from the fans, which I might get into a bit later.
Yeah, I like that theory.
So yeah, and then from that you discover the Yarg Shadow Broker, who has unique dialogue depending on who it is that you take with you. Liara travels with interesting companions, and it ranges from the Cerberus second in command of Miranda, or just Cerberus operative Jacob, to an active Geth module. Finally bringing Tali to him, because he originally was making a deal with Tali about Saren.
Yeah, in the first game, yeah.
Bring an assassin of Thane,
which is also
bring an Archangel. Cool.
Yeah, it's one of the Homeworlds comics. The one Tali.
Nice.
Before, I'm almost positive that's the comic. I've definitely read that story somewhere, so it has to be a comic, to be honest. It's the Homeworlds one, I think.
I think there's brief mentioning to it in Mass Effect 3 where if you're talking to Tali enough on the Citadel, she talks about her, her build up to joining to the stuff with what's his name? Fade? No, not Fade. Fist.
Yeah, Fist.
Yeah, Fist, who actually makes an appearance in Mass Effect 2 if you don't take Rex with you to see Fist, because you can choose to not kill him, and then you'll bump into him again in Omega's bar Afterlife. Just sort of standing around trying to order drinks. And he gets very upset when you turn up. Speaking of Afterlife, the bartender, did you or did you not make him drink his own poison?
I think I did both times. Like as Renegade and Paragon on the grounds that when you go.
Every time. I don't think there's actually an option to not make him drink it. I think if you choose the Renegade option, you force him to drink it. If you choose the Paragon option, someone else forces him to drink it. I think it's the random Turian next to you starts going gets a bit aggro about it and basically forces him to drink it instead.
I don't remember that. But was it on 2 where... we're doing spoilers anyway. Was it Liara's dad on 2?
Liara's dad's in 3.
No, I think she's in 2 as well, and you get drunk and she turns into a different person.
Oh no, Liara's dad is in 2 because she's the Ilium bartender.
Yeah, so when you get drunk on Ilium then, and she starts off as the older matriarchal looking Asari lady, Octopus Head. You have a couple of drinks and then you look at her again and she looks like a fresh out of the bag baby 20-year-old Asari smoking hot, which I thought was brilliant. Like beer goggles in a game. Great stuff.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
It's quite amusing.
Know that was a thing.
Well, there you go.
I know that if you drink too much on the Citadel, then Shepard collapses and he wakes up in the toilet with the Turian peeing next to him.
Yep. And your squad mates are you're right.
It's not even that they're standing over you. It's that if you take Miranda, she's just sort of sitting on the floor of the men's room, just sort of waiting for you to stand up, just sort of content, just going, "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, it's fine." But the important thing is that in that exact sequence, Shepard drinks Rincol. Which
was that some
the
sort
Crow
of
could
worm or
describe
something?
as drinking broken glass.
Yeah, gross.
If we're talking Omega, can we talk about Arya?
You can talk about anything.
Arya's a very cool character. I was pleased to hang out with her again in 3, in the DLC.
The Omega DLC
Yes,
was great.
It was. Because apart from anything else, you get Arya's flare ability, which is stupidly powerful. Like, I stopped using Shockwave. I thought I'll just use flare. Boom.
I stopped using pull, or rather lift, in the first game from playing that one because you unlocked Lash, which was basically pull but on steroids.
Yeah, Arya is very. Her whole idea about I run this place like a queen, and she's not intimidated by you. Other folk go in for the whole mystique. She doesn't. I just liked doing Arya missions. It's disappointing that she only has so much to say. Like, you go back and it's the same script and stuff. You can't prompt it. Like, she does more when you see her in Purgatory on the Citadel. Is that the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she can get like progress reports from her. And she says, "How are you getting on with this?" But
Yeah, they clearly just couldn't afford Carrie-Anne Moss for more than like 50 minutes of her time to record a couple of lines.
I didn't realise that was Karen Moss until very recently. The only person that...
The fact that it looks almost like her.
Yeah, but even Strakowski, or Yvonne Strakowski's got the same face, but looks very different with brunette hair. I didn't notice her. I didn't notice Marina Sirtis in 1. I didn't notice Adam Baldwin in 2. The only person I clocked as soon as I heard them was Martin Sheen.
Did that have anything to do with the fact that it actually looked like Martin Sheen as well?
I didn't
A
know
young
that.
version. A young version of Martin Sheen. Looked like it too. That it was a mystery drink anyway, the one that you had to get pissed to see the different version of Liara's mum. It was the mystery drink in Ilium. I just did a super special search engine look up.
So we've only got one more DLC to talk about for 2.
Wait, which one was... I can't remember which one. Arrival.
Which was bloody hard the first time I played it.
Yeah, playing Arrival on the harder difficulty, because I think I played Arrival on Insanity because I don't even know why. It wasn't necessary, I don't think. I don't think there was the DLC actually had. You had to play it on the harder difficulty. I think the only difficult achievement was getting through all of the waves when you get to the Reaper fragment.
I didn't manage that. I just got shot after 4.
Yeah, it's I think it was 5. You had to complete 5 waves of enemies. If you did, you got an achievement, which at the time I needed because I wanted to complete Mass Effect 2's achievements. Because I needed to, because I love Mass Effect 2. But every time since then, I've just died at the first enemy. I just run up to him and waited for him to kill me, because am I fucked doing all of those fucking waves? They were fucking tough.
There's a room. I don't remember what. You go along a corridor and there's a room that opens up and there's engineers and other folk. And I died so many times doing it as a Vanguard. 2 minutes as a soldier. You put on Adrenaline Rush, you peek your head round the corner, snipe the pyro, snipe the engineer, do that 3 times, job done.
Playing as a Vanguard in any room where there are pyros is fucking impossible, because you just launch yourself right into their flamethrower.
Or you shockwave someone, which you need to be a little bit closer than I was. It was very difficult.
I've honestly never played as a Vanguard. I'm almost positive, apart from in the multiplayer.
That makes sense. I mean, Mass Effect 2 didn't really put a lot of emphasis on biotic detonations, and there was no emphasis at all on tech explosions.
Yeah.
Like, at all.
I just went with the magic thing, and I like the biotics because it reminded me of magic. So I've always just stuck with Adept, mostly, or Soldier, for Insanity playthroughs. I did an Infiltrator a couple of times as well, but...
I can't remember which class... I don't know. The Vanguard didn't allow it. It's only in Andromeda that you actually got access to all abilities.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice.
But also a pain in the arse at the same time.
Yeah. Especially when you only really need 3.
Mm-hmm.
You can only have 3.
I'm going to set a profile. Put all my points and stuff, make it super powerful. Then I'll just solve any problem with charge. The problem that I can't charge headfirst into is not a problem I want to see.
It's... If you could combine pull on a Vanguard, so use pull and then charge while they're in mid-air.
So then they'd go flying.
Now that's
you can do
that
that,
would
can't
be
you?
the one. The Vanguard doesn't have pull. I don't think.
Squad mates do.
On 3, sorry, my bad.
Oh, we're still on 2 actually.
Okay.
Just.
On 2.
But we're talking Arrival, which was probably the most difficult DLC on because it's just you.
Was that the one that set up for the 3rd game, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that's literally. You do this mission, and then that's it. You just set yourself going for the Reaper's arrival. The Reapers are coming, and you are there to stop them from turning up.
Because they're coming in like half an hour.
Yeah. Well, they're coming out of dark space to go to that relay, and that's the reason why you're blowing that relay up. Not what I originally thought, which was that they were arriving by that relay, because I just thought, well, hang on, the number of times when I've arrived in sectors and not had a relay there, I just like that you can arrive by faster than light travel, but you don't always point and land at a relay, essentially.
There's a bit where the timer is like 25 minutes. If you don't do anything for 25 minutes, what happens? I've never done it because I want to play the game, but...
I don't think I've ever tried to wait for that countdown.
Well, I'm not doing anything tonight, so get it fired up. Let's not wait 25 minutes. No,
I'm not.
That can be a PS in the next pod.
Yeah, I will. I'm just going to have a quick search to see where. There's wait for countdown. There's Mass Effect 2 Arrival type W, letting the timer count down to 0.
You get a special cutscene.
You do get a special cutscene. The first response is a YouTube thing for it's 16 seconds long. But actually, the question that I've come across first one is. The Reapers will be there in 2 days. What if you just let the stand in front of the clock for 2 days straight without doing anything? Someone immediately replied with, it goes to under 30 minutes at one point. Maybe you should wait until then.
That would be a much better idea.
If you wait for the countdown clock to reach 0, the cutscene will show up. The Reapers arrive, and it shows flashes of Reapers' destruction of the galaxy, followed by the critical mission failure screen.
Neat.
So you get that. Yeah. So yeah, there's that. So you get no squad mates, potential for a random critical mission failure for no reason.
Well, they make it there and everyone dies.
Yep.
Well, within a century and a half.
Or something like that.
It kind of led you on to believe that it was going to be some sort of instant thing, and then obviously when 3 turned around, it kind of made it out like it wasn't actually quite as quick as they were explaining in the first place. It's actually a long war of slow death. So that was...
It is a long war of attrition of people trying to defend themselves and their borders, when in reality they probably... It's a long cleanse trying to get rid of every single person, or human, or rather every single ascended species.
Yeah, but up until the point where you found out about that, they kind of gave you the idea that these Reapers, they were ultra weapon super, and that they would literally just come in and just vaporize you, similar to, Halo Ring style.
Yeah, well, the way that they showed off Sovereign in the first one, in that he literally just goes to the Citadel, and the entire Citadel defense force just get obliterated in one of him just flying through them.
Yeah, one of his finger lasers.
Yeah. And then he takes out half of the Fifth Fleet. Or, no, what was it? Was it the Fifth Fleet? No, it was the entire Arcturus fleet, wasn't it? So that's like all 6 fleets just sort of turn up. And even then, they barely make a dent on this giant Reaper that turns out to not even be one of the big ones. It's one of the regular-sized ones.
Yep.
So, ready to talk through. Mass Effect 3, 2012, and we released a game that was almost entirely panned by all critics and regular players, and people who claim to love the franchise have all said the ending is shit, and because of that, they want their money back. Fuck those people, right? If you love a game that much, you take its faults and you go, you know what? There isn't really anything else they could have done for this game for an ending. It really was building up to a big, well, this is the end. What else were they going to do?
The first time I played, I thought this ending's fucking bullshit, because I spent time building a galactic community behind me, and then we'll lose the mass relays to service that galactic community. But it doesn't need to be a happy ending. The point of this is things come at a cost, and Mass Effect 3 is huge on loss, and the things people give up so that other people can do something. And the fact that I didn't get the ending I wanted, my Shepard died when she destroyed the Reapers, that's fine. The fact I didn't get a nice ending fits in with the story. It would be wrong to have sunshine and rainbows and everyone happy, smiley together. It'd be wrong to have everything working out perfectly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And interestingly, with the introduction of Extended Cut, it's possible for Shepard to survive the explosion of destroying the Reapers.
Yep. If you've got enough galactic readiness.
Yeah. If your galactic readiness is high enough, doesn't require you to play the multiplayer at all. I think it's easily achievable with 50% readiness, especially with the DLC later on, but that's more later.
Is that just where they show his chest breathing at the end?
Yes.
Yes, but with the Extended Cut, if you've romanced Liara / Ashley or Caden, they are the one putting the names on the wall. They openly refuse to put your name up on the hero wall on the Normandy when they repair it and set it off to spaceflight again. Which again is something that wasn't shown pre-Extended Cut. They don't show off the Normandy from flying away from that random planet they've landed on. So there's something else that was added to the Extended Cut that I distinctly remember. So there's that.
Endings in all games are tough for me. It's the last point that I would be playing that game. It's the last thing I'm going to strongly remember, and it's quite often burdened with sequel setups lately. But Mass Effect 3 was a real kick in the nuts for me. We played 150 plus hours for one playthrough, and everything about Mass Effect 3 was great. If I could just cut that last half an hour, I didn't want an ending where everyone was super happy. I didn't want an ending where we won without consequence. I kind of just wanted the decisions that we'd spent all that time to make a difference and to actually be the end. And the end itself, you kind of look at it with that whole every game sets up a sequel now, and thinking, how the hell can they go on a sequel on this? It's just so, yeah. While I didn't absolutely love it, I didn't absolutely hate it either. It just sat somewhere in nowhere land.
I get annoyed with the idea that your decisions didn't have consequences, or they didn't matter in the end, because they mattered to me when I played it through. I said I felt guilty about not looking after David Archer, but knowing that I made the right of the finger quotes, the right decisions about the genophage and the right decisions about who to help and support and how to treat people. That mattered to me in my death. That mattered to me as the galaxy was saved or was destroyed, because that's the world I want to create. So it might not have a cutscene at the end, but how I played the game and each part of it mattered to me, even if it wasn't reflected in what the developers produced to reward me at the end. I mean, some of your decisions that don't look like they matter do. I mean, you can, if you don't go to Grissom Academy to help Jack out, she gets captured by Cerberus and turned into a phantom, who you then have to kill.
Neat.
If you picked Morinth in Mass Effect 2, you kill her as a Banshee.
Yeah, that's a big sort of. It's just on Earth. You just happen to find a Banshee called Morinth. It's not even something that you really care about at all. It just happens to be, instead of saying Banshee in their health bar, it just says Morinth.
Like, that didn't happen to me, but I like that there's lots of very small bits of storytelling in Mass Effect. It's bleak. My goodness, it's bleak. If you go to Huerta Memorial Hospital, I would go several times just to listen to the Asai talking about her post-traumatic stress disorder, but hiding in a farmhouse with an Earth girl who I think is Joker's sister, and trying to rescue her squad mates, but her squad mates have been indoctrinated, so they fight her off and she's got to kill them. Then you get a Spectre quest where she wants to have a gun. And because I've listened to her, I know if you had a gun, you would kill yourself. So you don't do that. But you can say, yeah, she gets a gun. And then, yes, she kills herself. Huge surprise. There's a bit at the very end of it where you're in the Earth base before the final mission, and you listen to someone doing, or being given instructions for doing CPR or stemming a wound. Remind me.
He's missing a leg,
Yeah.
I think, and you're making a tourniquet.
Yeah, so you listen to someone who's panicking, doing up someone's leg, and then the person she's helping dies, and you listen to that, you listen to her fear, and then you listen to her saying, they're coming, I can't do this, and there's a gunshot, and then it all goes quiet. So having a happy ending in a game where people have suffered like that, you can't go back to the way it was. You have to have something different, and having Mass Effect really be destroyed or something. I think that as much as we don't like it, it works as a way to finish off the story.
Yeah. I mean, a Mass Effect 4 is possible, because the overall canon story is Shepard is destroying the Reapers. You destroy the Reapers, Shepard survives. I mean, his quality of life's probably not very good. I mean, he's already on the autistic spectrum, apparently.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you've got doesn't mean you've got poor quality of life.
Well, okay, so I'm not saying that it does, but I mean that he is essentially someone who is on the autistic spectrum who's just been exploded in some way. So all he now knows is pain and suffering. So it's going to be a Mass Effect 4 is going to be interesting if they can make one, because it's entirely possible.
But even then,
and as proof,
it doesn't need to be like Dragon Age has 3 separate characters for each of its 3 games. It's got the Warden, Hawk, and the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
And you get a much broader range of what you can do in creating these characters.
Does the Warden show up in 2 and 3?
Because
I know that Hawk shows up in 3.
Someone shows up in 3.
Hawk shows up in Inquisition.
I never played Origins. Somebody from 1 shows up in 3, depending on what you did.
Depending on what I didn't finish Origins, but depending on which of the options that you pick in the original, in the opening, it says, "Oh, this is what happened in 1." Depending on one of the characters from 1, I think it's Alistair, shows up as a drunk in the pub.
Yeah.
Because he's not the king, essentially. Because you chose the woman to be queen.
But yeah, Mass Effect doesn't need Shepard for number 4.
It doesn't, no.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs to be in 4 either. But it's I miss the galaxy. I miss the Milky Way, especially when there was a lot of stuff in the Codex about new races that they found, and then obviously on Mass Effect 2, if I remember, when you're on the dashboard, you used to get the little pop-ups on the screen telling you about some news. It was like live, and I think they kept it live for about a year. It used to update every couple of days, and it used to pop up and tell you about new races on there. And there was a couple of new races. One of them, I can't remember the name of it. Basically, like bird people. We never got to see all. There's so much possibility for the Milky Way that we missed out on now that it's going to be very difficult for them to find a way back there.
Did you ever see Matt Rhodes' concept art for releases that didn't get in? Matt Rhodes did a concept.
Yes, I think I've got all of the special editions.
There's a race that are basically a bunch of worms in a sack, but they have a human face that they staple on to the front of this sack. And his idea was that you can see behind the eye holes stuff moving, and it's grotesque. It looks like a rejected splicer, but
neat,
less grotesque.
So it's kind of like a really crappy, weird version of the Let Golo from Halo, or the Hunters, the big wormy people that wear armor. Yeah.
You lost me when you mentioned Halo.
Yeah, it's my bad.
Further to things, interesting things that Mass Effect 3 had, just because it was the third one, and they just made loads of connections back to the story in 1 and things that happen in 2. I'm talking like proper minor details. Like in Mass Effect 1, on the Citadel, when you go there the first time, and you go to the Krogan statue. Standing near there is a pregnant woman and her brother-in-law, the brother of the father of the child. The father died of a heart condition, I think, and he's trying to convince her to take a test which has the potential of harming the baby, to see if he has this heart defect which can be cured before he's born. He has a 1 in 100 chance of having this heart defect, versus he could have a 1 in 10,000 chance of suffering from having this test being done. Which one do you pick? Mathematically speaking, you're going to pick the one that's got the better odds. So you want to take the test because 1 in 10,000 chance of suffering in the future versus 1 in 100 chance of dying before he turns 20. So it's a no-brainer, but you really need to think on the side that the fact is that the mother, she's just lost the love of her life to this problem, and the guy that she's talking to is his brother, who was also just lost the closest people to him to this problem. But they make a reappearance again in Mass Effect 3. They're just sort of sitting on a bench next to General Araka, the Turian who you chat to about Sha'ira the consort, because he's the arsehole who sold the Alcor sex tape with the consort. So yeah, there's that's just the minor details.
What are they saying in 3? Because they don't ring a bell.
They are talking about trying to save the son some way. I can't remember what they say exactly, but they're just sort of talking about because they've lost contact with him because at a school somewhere, and they're trying to and Shepard essentially walks up to them and says that they need to relax and that it's going to be okay essentially. But yeah, if I recall correctly, it's the same people and everything is okay for them, I guess. Apart from the whole, the Citadel gets invaded later on and they're not there afterwards, so don't really know.
My favourite followed-up story is Jonah, the Quarian.
I didn't put 2 and 2 together until very recently when I played through in quick succession. I recognised the name, the fact that when you do Tali's loyalty quest and it's Jonah's mum, and you get that her death at the hands of the Geth, and then you go to Quarian homeworld and you find his dad talking about how he's finally made it onto the homeworld.
Taking a little sidetrack, just talking about the sad missions and kids. On Andromeda, on EOS, there's basically a simple fetch quest called What He Would Have Wanted.
Yeah.
Have you finished that?
I did, and
oh, fucking hell!
That was tough.
Probably not done that one yet then.
Oh, it's...
Was that, the first one seems, this is completely fine. And the second one, it's like, it's
This
not
is
so
weird.
bad. The third one, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't like where this is going. 4, fuck. What the fuck? And then the fifth and final one is
The
kind of,
It's
Yeah.
back to normal. It's what for everyone listening. If you've not got it, you have to place a probe. Someone died placing a probe. You got to put the 5 last.
I've just done the second probe.
Oh, and you get
It's 5.
a little. Keep on doing it, Dad. You're doing great. Oh, motivation thing. And then the 4th one is, hey, Dad, I'm so sick, but you're in the future, so
it doesn't matter.
Oh. I made that noise when I played it, and my flatmate went, "What?" I had to explain. I'm sad because a fictional sick child has lost his fictional dad, and then the fictional dad
Neat.
died.
I'm looking forward to doing that one then.
Mass Effect is very good at getting very small bits of story that connect with you. They are, for all its rabbit shooty, fucking people in space, there's a huge amount of heart in it, and some of it's manipulated and pulling heartstrings, but it gets me.
Yeah, I'm going to move on to what I mentioned earlier. Remember the Krogan on Ilium who's trying to
Yes.
read poetry to the Blue Rose of Ilium?
Yep.
Amazing guy.
Yeah. If you convince her to stay with him, you'd later meet them on Tachanka. She's chatting with him, and he's really happy about all that. When you do the mission for Rex to take out the Rachni, and you meet Grunt,
Mm-hmm.
if you've convinced her and him to be together, one of the side holes in the wall behind some webbing is the corpse of a Krogan with an audio datapad, which is completely innocuous, doesn't really mean anything to you. You head back to the Citadel, and it just appears out of nowhere. It's not part of a quest or anything. You get nothing for this at all. You don't get reputation, no XP, nothing. You just get a prompt at one of the shops
Yes.
in the main shopping area. You hand her this datapad, and the first thing you hear is, "Oh, Blue Rose of Ilium," and that's when you realise that it's Char, the Krogan that you just got together with the love of his life. And you've managed to convince her that he is the way forward for her, and he goes off and does a mission for the future of the Krogan and the galaxy, and he died, providing you with a flamethrower that's completely useless in that mission.
I think I did get that. Mass Effect is actually about war. Not, fuck yeah, war, but it's about civilian displacement. It's about losing your home. It's about nothing being the same again. It's about, what do we do now? The docks and the Citadel, they're a great addition to the story, because I'm struggling to explain. There's this whole idea that here's what happens to people while heroes go off to be heroes. People are caught in the middle of it. And my whole thing for Shepard is they have to make sure that they don't trample on anybody. When you get to see Kelly, what's Kelly's last name? Kelly Chalmers. Kelly Chalmers. You get to see Kelly from Mass Effect 2. And she's dedicating herself to helping people out. And go, good. Well done, I like this. And it's part of, you get a mission to go document life for refugees. So you can take to the Citadel to say, you need to do more for these people. And even if I take the hard ending of we'll fight the Reapers to the end without a Citadel, and everyone dies, it's still important that you look after people as that happens.
Yeah. I very recently, in my playthrough, made the mistake of accidentally not selecting to tell Kelly Chambers that she needs to do more. And it's the first and only time I've ever made that mistake, because it just never occurred to me. And then as soon as I did it, and I was like, oh fuck, I just thought I've accidentally killed Kelly Chambers off. Because if you don't tell her to change her name and change her hair to blonde, then she gets pulled out of a line. And it's just, you walk into the area, and one of the random people, one of the NPCs just says, "Did you hear about what happened to that girl Kelly?" No. Well, they lined us all up, and they said, one of them pulled her aside and said, "Are you Kelly Chambers?" She said yes, and they put a bullet in her skull. And it's just, wow, what the fuck? Just out of nowhere, it's just like one accidental choice of picking the top option instead of the bottom option on a conversation tree that you don't get a chance to go back on whatsoever. You can't repeat this conversation. You can do nothing. It's just you've killed her or you've saved her life.
Yeah, she can.
And it's just unbelievable, things like that.
She can also, if you're a dick, you can say a thing that makes her kill herself.
I didn't know I could do that, and now I'm...
That's...
What?
I can't remember how it goes, but I think it's something... Because I saw this on YouTube, not the thing that I did myself. I think if you're really shitty to her the first time you see her, then she feels abandoned and alone, and she talks herself. Because someone in the hall says, "What happened to that girl?" I said, "Oh, didn't you hear? She got a bullet in her head."
Okay.
And
wow.
There was a bit after the monastery mission that made me play the rest of the game with my finger on the Paragon Interrupt. The bit where Samara puts a gun to her head for the first time. No! What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then Tali does it. So, oh my goodness, it's about being there to support people. Not just with an Avenger rifle, but with emotional support and helping people out. Going back to my first bit, it's all about taking care of the mental health of your crew. And the game makes it awful difficult in some places. Because you've got to do hard things. I accidentally, having romanced Liara in 1, I accidentally went from playing chess to fucking in the shower with Trainer.
Yep.
You can walk into romance without too much difficulty if you're not paying attention. Liara was pretty pissed. She still shared that Sorry Mind Melt thing with me, but I knew that I'd let her down by fucking somebody else in the shower. In my uniform.
Trying to think. There's only... who is it? Tali. In Mass Effect 3, if you have slept with either Liara or you slept with Ashley, either or, and you take them with you when you go onto the Geth ship with Tali to pick up Legion in Mass Effect 3.
Mm-hmm.
In the opening section where Tali chats with whoever it is, there's a YouTube video of the introduction, so some of them are quite amusing, including her meeting Edie in a body, and she gets a bit taken back by the fact there's an AI standing in front of her. It's where you get James, Vega, call her Sparks, which I thought I actually think that James is quite cute for a meathead. I think he's quite amusing. Just his little nickname.
God, I could fire him out of a cannon.
So some of his
the
little
worst. And it was voiced by that pleb as well. I can't remember his
Freddie
name.
Prinze Jr.
Oh God, he's only done one decent role, and that was the nanny in Friends. Everything else has been crap.
Right, if we're doing this just now, he's on a list of people who can go fuck themselves.
Oh God, Vega was.
I'm going to play Lola. The fuck you will.
You should play as Melcher, but he calls you Loco.
He can fuck off that as well. I'm your commander. This is a chain of command. It's what I whip you to show you I'm in command. And when you go to the bar on Omega, and he says, you fill out a uniform pretty well. Get the fuck! I would, if there was an option for a Renegade Interrupt to just piss a whip in front of the dudes in the bar, I would do that. What I had to instead was go to medical bay, respec him, take his point down to 0, and say, you sit in that cargo bay, you ain't coming out on another mission with me. He's just such a dick.
Oh, there's a bit in the bar as well, I'm sure. Does he force you to buy a round of drinks or something as well?
Yeah.
At that point, I just want to go, fuck you.
Yeah, it'd be really good to show the guys that get to fuck. I'm giving my audacity the finger while I speak to you.
The funny thing is that it's the Renegade option to buy them a round of drinks.
Oh, is it? Oh, please, mate.
It's pretty. He
was an awful character
because he throws you in the deep end with the whole introducing yourself to the crew and says who's like us, and then you do the whole salute and full on Marine. I am G.I. Joe, full on soldier man, and that you buy everyone a round of drinks as the Renegade option. The Paragon option is to tell him to go fuck himself and buy his own drinks.
See, there's a Jeff Goldblum very short interview where the people will say to me, Jeff Goldblum, Jeff Goldblum. And I always say the same thing. How dare you speak to me? And that's how I feel with Vega. Honestly, how dare you?
Okay, so you guys don't like Vega, but I find him quite amusing.
But you've fallen in love with him.
Yeah, I love Freddie Prinze
For
Jr.
some
and
reason, I don't
his
know.
voice on that Muscle Man, that Meathead N7 guy.
God.
Thank you very much, Vega, for crashing our shuttle on Mars. I think I told you to sit in the shuttle and keep it warm. Not do that.
You kind of did ask for him to crash, or rather to stop the robot from escaping, so that Edie can have a body.
His Homeworld comic was crap as well. And I think that might have just tailed in with the fact that I just didn't like him as a character, so I hated the comic as well.
The one thing I do like about Jay, and this is me being properly vindictive, the fact that his whole tragic backstory is that he sacrificed, or he got his whole platoon killed to get information that you needed for your mission in Mass Effect 2, except Shepard did the job anyway, so it's a pointless sacrifice.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh yeah, he sacrificed his entire crew to try and a load of colonists to stop the Collectors, and Shepard was like, "Well, you know, I did that. That was, it didn't even break a sweat. There was just 12 of us. You're a whole platoon. None of us died.
Yeah.
You survived. That was fuck all. And I did the job. You fucked up. That's why I'm the commander, and you're just some random cunt."
He's managed to get a bit part in the first section of everyone's third game, and then never to be seen the light of day again.
Can I?
Apart from John's.
I like Jimmy Vega on the grounds that he had probably the most effective of the original game's powers, which was Carnage. Carnage was ridiculously overpowered. It was concussive shot on steroids. You use Incinerate if you play as any kind of the engineering sides, and while they're burning, or if you even just have Inferno ammo, and they're just sort of like sparking away on fire, and you hit them with Carnage. That explosion is a massive motherfucker.
On my explosions, did you use the Scorpion pistol at all?
When I unlocked it,
I used it
then
the first time, but didn't know what it was doing, and then I worked out it's a sticky grenade. You don't need to get your aim properly right. Just point next to someone. Like for brutes, they're great. It's basically a small shotgun that has no weight.
Yeah.
And if folk are far away, you fire roughly behind them. Boom, 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 explode. Fire three of them near someone, they die.
Well, you want to talk about a small shotgun with roughly no weight. The Talon pistol. Use that on brutes, and they die in 3 shots.
I don't think I equipped that one.
Not on Insanity, they don't.
The Talon pistol was only findable on Priority Citadel Part 2. You had to go one of the rooms in the C-Sec Academy. You had to go out of the room, press a door panel to unlock it, and then you had to head back into the room to then get into that section to find the Talon on the floor. It was the way to get it, or you just buy it in the Spectre Requisitions afterwards. But the Talon was basically a shotgun pistol. And it makes a reappearance in Andromeda if you come across it, but it's not as good anymore.
Yeah, I find a lot of weapons aren't good anymore.
Almost all of the guns that make a reappearance, like the sniper rifle, the Raptor in Andromeda is fully auto, whereas in Mass Effect 3, the Raptor is single shot. It's rapid fire, semi-auto. And it's a beast to use in general because it's like using the Matic except more powerful and less weight.
Yeah, I've tried the Indra. I thought that was crap.
Yeah, the burst fire sniper rifle is completely pointless. But I think it's collector's edition exclusive. It's the N7 Valiant, which was a full auto sniper rifle. I think that was the one.
Was that on 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I like that one. There was a couple of weapons on 3 that I really liked. There was a couple that were no ammo weapons that I found to be quite handy as well.
Yeah.
As well.
But returning back to where my original point was the meeting of Tali and the interesting bit of conversation depending on who it is that you take in there. But if you sleep with Tali in Mass Effect 2 cheating on Liara or Ashley, then their reaction to Tali inside that airlock chamber is quite amusing. And later on, when Edie's explaining how you and Tali got intimate on the route to the Collectors, is also quite amusing, regardless of which character's with you. So I think there's on YouTube. It's available if anyone gets interested in watching it. I think I'm going to try and find all of these things and post them up with the Character Unlock Twitter account. All of these, as many of these things as I can remember as this episode goes live on Friday. Dr. Brooker edits it tomorrow with a lot of the things cut out that really shouldn't be here, because we've been recording for almost 3 hours now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can we go back to my list of people who can go fuck themselves?
Yes, your list of go fuck yourselves.
There's an engineer who says, "Oh, did you see Edie's new body? I love her new body." That's a crewmate.
Oh.
You're on a charge. I don't know what charge, but you're definitely on one.
The only Scottish guy in all of the Milky Way.
We have...
Yeah, the Scottish people in Andromeda, though, don't forget.
That's what I said in the Milky Way.
I can't understand Suvi. I find her really difficult.
It's not just Suvi. There was, not personally, but a guy that I work with, he mentioned one of the Jarl had got, not Jarl, the Angara had got a Scottish one, which tickled me a bit.
Yeah.
The Angara have such a broad spectrum of accents. I've come across at least 2 South Africans and at least 3 Australians, and someone from at least one of the other more central African countries.
Yeah, they're strange. But I find Suvi very difficult, which I shouldn't do because I am Scottish. So it's not like it's a new accent. She's just tough. I might have to put subbies on.
Yeah.
So that engineer can go get fucked. Joker is...
Kenneth Daniels?
Donnelly?
Yeah.
Joker gets creepy towards Edie, and Edie goes, "Oh, Joker loves me." So, yeah, he should back the fuck off.
Joker loves me. Yeah, I don't think that's love, honey. I think that's something different.
Yeah.
I'll let him get it on. There's no harm done in having a sex bot.
Yes, there is. She's part of the crew. Edie's actually really fun. I like having Edie on missions. I think I said in the email, on the final mission, you're run towards the Citadel. What's it called? That spire that takes you up.
Yeah, I know the one.
Yeah, when in the extended ending, your crewmates get flattened by a tank, and Edie comes up and she's twitching and glitching, and you go, "Shepard, I can help," and then Tally or whoever has to take her back up, and she's all glitchy. And it's very sweet. So you're broken, but you want to help. Everyone wants to do their bit, but some people can't.
Yeah, in the extended cut, it doesn't matter who, because I discovered it doesn't matter who you take. Someone of that team gets blown up in that tank, and they get taken away in the Normandy without the Reaper shooting at it at all, that are right next to it for some strange reason. But that's neither here nor there. This is something that was added in afterwards when people were angry at that part. But I've had Jarvik say he wants to help, but you put him onto the Normandy to go, bug the fuck out. But it's just weird that new section, just because people are unhappy that your squad mates disappeared. But if you don't have your effective military strength high enough, then that tank lands on those people and they die. And they don't get taken away in the Normandy.
Ah.
Yeah.
I lost Steve. Before that cannibal rooftop, I had his. I had his shuttle crash, which I think is because I didn't speak to him at all. So I thought, I don't know your story. I played the game already. So my second playthrough, he died.
Yeah, if you don't take him to the club in Purgatory, then he dies.
Yeah, I didn't take him to the club.
So it's like you literally have to go all the way through his romance thing and find out whether or not you want to be gay or not right at the end with him. If you're playing as male shepherd. If you're playing as female shepherd, you don't really have to worry about it.
No, I just spoke to him for a bit. First time I spoke to him for a bit and he survived. Second time I thought, I know your story. I'll just cut to the chase. He died. It's
like trying to romance Trainer. It's hilarious because if you're playing as Femme Shep, she jumps in the shower. And then you join her.
I was very surprised.
Yeah, just randomly, just like out of nowhere. It's just a choice of...
Oh, you've got a shower. Come in.
Sometimes that happens in real life.
Yeah, it's just like straight up. Randomly, it's like she's in the shower and you've got the choice of either A, joining her and upsetting Liara, or B, you don't join her and she's very upset at the fact that you haven't joined her in the shower. But if you're playing as male shepherd, then you just play chess. There's no shower scene or anything. And after her beating you at chess, you say, "How about we get a little bit more comfortable?" And she replies with, when I said that I liked Edie's voice? Well, surprise, I'm a lesbian.
Join a shepherd. You shouldn't be slagging your crew. It's unprofessional.
It's why I always chose Liara, because she wasn't really part of the crew in the first one. That and Ashley was alcoholic space racist.
Apparently, if you can romance Vega in the Citadel DLC, And by romance, I mean you.
Wake up with.
No, I mean you put loads of pressure on him and then he says that was a bad idea. For folk to play to say, that's pretty uncool, Shepard. Don't do that to your subordinates. Don't do that to them, that's not cool.
I'm trying to... Is Vega even romanceable in Mass Effect 3 apart from in Citadel? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he is. Because I remember getting the options for it when I was trying to just get burden of conversation with him.
I know that Ashley and Kaidan are both romanceable in Mass Effect 3 for male Shepard, despite having no attempt at romancing them before. So if you sleep with Liara, and then you go after Miranda or Tali or Jack in 2, you can then sleep with Ashley in 3. Or Kaidan, obviously, because despite sleeping with Liara and with another woman, you're now a homosexual and willing to sleep with the random Canadian bloke.
Maybe not. Maybe it's not actually romanceable, apart from in the Citadel DLC.
Yeah, because I think it's James and Jarvik. It's possible to wake up with either of them, depending on who you've spoken to the most at the party.
Jarvik.
Speaking of the Citadel DLC, the datapad from Mordin.
Aww.
Now, I'm going to go and I'm going to revert back to Mass Effect 1 and I'm going to change my statement from what I said earlier. And I have actually killed Rex on purpose before because I discovered that you can save Mordin in 3. You just have to sacrifice Rex.
Yeah, I knew there was a way to do it, but not a way that fitted in with my ideas.
So it really choosing to kill Rex is essentially you have to choose between Rex and Mordin. Who do you prefer? Now, I've only done this once, and I killed off Rex so that I could have Reeve, and then I later discovered you have to side with the Solarians, and therefore not cure the genophage, and then Mordin lives. Any other option of that is Mordin dies. So the amount of effort it takes to keep Mordin alive is unbelievable. Because keeping Rex alive means that Mordin refuses to go along with your plan of and the Dalatras, and you either kill him going up there, and he can't then perform his duty to cure the genophage, or he goes up there, cures the genophage, and dies anyway up there, obviously because he always dies up there. And either way, if Rex is alive, Rex comes to the Citadel and tries to kill you, and you kill Rex anyway.
But it's only hard work to do if that's not your idea. I mean, some folks say, yeah, Rex, stand up to me, boof, kill him for a mile. And some folks say, genophage, nah, Krogan's a nasty. So some options don't appear to us because we would never think to do them. And some options, like, I would never have Jack as a phantom because Jack's there. I'll go see Jack first off. I'll drop everything else. I'll go see her. She's now got a haircut and a jacket.
Yeah, she's wearing respectable clothing and she's got a swear jar now. And she could, if they emptied it, they could buy a cruiser.
It's not about respectable. It's that she's not chilly anymore.
Yeah,
that's why she's down by the engine room because it's toasty.
It's warm. Oh god, I just remembered Donnelly. Or Daniels. No. Yeah, it is Donnelly. When Gabby mentions that she says there's a woman down in the lower deck, and he says, I'm gonna go have a word with her. And she says the only thing she wears from the waist up is tattoos. And then he gets really aroused, and he's a complete and utter ass.
He's a fucking
I fucking hate.
So basically most men then.
Yeah, but he's so open about it that it's like any mentioning of any female character, like he's talking about when Gabby's talking about the Normandy, and he then converts it into talking about Miranda's ample bosom.
Fun.
He wouldn't. Poor Gabby, next to him for the entire time.
The thing is that she's in love with him.
I would put her on a different shift rota and sit her down and say, you know what, you can do better. This is Flight Commander What's-His-Face. He's not a dick.
It's nice that they squeezed a little bit of reality in there too, though, because not every man would be. It's nice that they've got sort of personalities, even so far as being crude, crass, sexist men.
And the reality that sometimes you work with utter cunts and you have to deal with it.
Yeah, oh god, everybody works with at least one.
Sorry, Brooker, that'll get edited, I hope.
Person that you would hand that cup to that says twat on the bottom when they have a sip.
Yes. Trying to think. The only respectable thing I've ever gotten out of that engineer bloke is when talking about the elusive man, and he says, "I knew there was something wrong with him. He drinks bourbon," and at which point Gabby replies with, "But you drink whiskey all the time," and he then says that, "No, I drink scotch. It's a different thing." That's the only time I've actually thought about him and gone, you know what? He's right about something.
But he's also being
not
a
complete
elitist
twat.
prick.
Yeah.
So says the man who's made a list of people who can go fuck themselves. He's an elitist prick.
Yeah.
Judgmental.
There we go.
Although the only person in Normandy who I actually properly like that isn't part of the crew is Dr. Chakwas. He can make meetings to go get drunk. And you do have the option where she says, "I saved this. You buy a brandy in 2 and you get to drink it in 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that you get wankered
I
in
said,
the
I was going to say it for a special occasion. So, Helen, we're about to die, almost certainly. And we don't need to have special occasions. We just do fun things in life. Another life lesson from Commander Shepard.
I need to teach that one to my wife. The 4 bottles of champagne that we've got in the cupboard, saved for a special occasion.
Yeah.
That'll never come to pass.
Go get a chippy tomorrow. Chippy and champagne.
Yep. There we go.
Mate, what? Yeah, I'm there.
Further to amusing stories, again, back with Tali, I just remembered that if you choose Dr. Michel rather than Dr. Chakwas to join you on the crew of the Normandy...
Dr. Michel?
Yes, Dr. Chloe Michel.
The Hospital?
Yeah, the French chick from Mass Effect 1.
I didn't know she could join.
French doctor. You can select her to join the crew, and if you do, when Garrus and Tali, which makes this even more humiliating for Tali, is if you don't romance her, then Garrus does. However, if Dr. Michel is on the crew of the Normandy, she buys Garrus chocolates that are edible by Turians. And Garrus mentions this completely because the dextroamino she buys when Garrus mentions this to Tali, thinking it's completely innocent. Her response is, "She bought you Turian chocolate," as if to say, "Holy crap! I fall in love with the second most badass man in the world, and he doesn't even know I exist."
You can hear her heart racing through the little voice port.
Yep, the induction port.
Oh. Tali's ace. I like when you do the Citadel DLC and Edie. No, it's Edie and Trainer and Tali working together, and it's just pure cringe for all of them.
Yeah, Edie completely obliviously going on with of Trainer rubbing herself to listening to Edie's voice, and Tali sitting there going, trying to change the subject desperately, and even eating something that would have killed her almost, just to avoid the conversation.
The party at Citadel is quite good fun. I mean, you get to, again, Vega says, "What's better, muscles or biotics? We're hanging over a balcony, mate. We're not even raising an eyebrow. Shut up."
Yep.
And Grunt gets to be a bouncer. Is it Grunt or Rex?
Grunt gets to be a bouncer.
No.
It's brilliant.
No.
And then you go and you ask if you can help, and then he replies that sure, you just press this and say no.
My precious baby.
Have you said yes and let someone up?
Was that an option?
It's an option. You can say yes, let someone up. Do you know what happens?
No.
They come up, they go have a complete fangasm over the fact they're just meeting Grunt and Shepard, and Grunt throws them out.
Yay. Did he put them out the window?
No, he just throws them out the building.
What happens if you find Grunt on the Citadel and he's fallen out a window in the hospital?
Oh, that's after you have the party. So the worst part about Citadel, I actually think, is that in order to get the characters to go to the party, you have to complete their story arc. But Miranda's story arc is the second to last priority mission. So you complete that, and then you do the Citadel's party, so that you can then have Miranda at the party, and therefore sleep with her one more time at the party. Is that you don't get a lot of time between then and doing the final mission, unless you've got loads of side quests still to do, which, if you're playing properly, isn't actually going to happen. So it definitely means that it's possible to lose out, because Grunt's little extra side quest where you meet a random CSEC officer outside of the noodle place that
Oh yeah, you have to bail him out.
fall out of. And you have to bail him out, or rather just convince the CSEC guy that Grunt is doing Spectre business.
He's with me. He's my son. Can't you see?
Yeah. That's just brilliant, those cutscenes, when Grunt's describing... It just describes what he did, and then you get the cutscene of him doing it.
Yes.
And it's nowhere near as majestic as the way he's describing it. It's fucking spectacular.
It basically is Saints Row 3 in space. I know that was
It is.
I know that was Saints Row 4, but it's a massive cartoon. It's tons of fun.
It's brilliant. It's like my Krogan allies helped me break out of the hospital, and there's just Grunt falling in front of next to a glass window, and no one sees it and pays attention. It's fucking... I love it. I actually might pull out... There's definitely something else I'm going to YouTube up and post all of these things. There's just so many different interesting things. The Citadel DLC was absolute, just complete and utter fan service, and I think that's why it was perfect.
But even then, the Bad Shepherd, I think I said this at the start, but I could have spent more time with Bad Shepherd. She was so interesting to be your own worst enemy. Like, you are your own worst enemy. And the fact that you can't save her. At the end, when you're fighting the Normandy, which is a tough fight, and she is hanging at the cargo bay, you can either extend a hand to her, and I always do, or you can say, you deserve this and let her drop. But whatever you do, she lets go and gets splattered. Which is a shame.
I've only played it once. I can barely remember it. It rings a bell.
I really liked they did it. You create this idea of what being Commander Shepard is, and some comes and says, no, it's not that. It's not relying on your friend. It's not building relationships. It's doing one thing for yourself and forget everybody else. But you've learned the wrong lessons in life because you haven't been treated the way that I've been treated by my friend I've opened myself up to. You haven't gone on this journey that I've gone on. That's what separates you and me.
They're fighting that giant orb thing on that as well. Or am I imagining that?
What?
A big orange orb.
Isn't that
the suicide mission in 2?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
The Oculus.
You know what? Yeah, maybe. And you fought it actually in the Normandy.
Yeah, that's the suicide mission in 2.
Oh, my bad.
Because Gareth says,
Getting it mixed
need
up.
some bigger weapons. No, I've got a shotgun and charge. I think I'll be fine.
Yeah, my memory sucks.
Back to some more stuff. Actually, going back to the ending of the final boss of Maya Brooks, the lovely Maya Brooks, the random tech who turns out to be, I think she's mentioned in a couple of the comics and at least one of the books. Miranda.
She's
got
Foundation.
Yeah, she's got different names going through it.
Yeah, she's a different person all the way through. It's Foundation's a maxi series of comics. Yeah. It's 13 parts.
And Miranda mentions her if you question her about Maya Brooks in the after the party when you do her little extra. She's come to visit you in your apartment before you sleep with her. You talk to her about Maya. But the thing is when you find out that Maya is actually working with Bad Shepherd, or if you're playing as Renegade Shepherd, is it Bad Shepherd or is it Worse Shepherd?
I'm Bad Shepherd.
Negative Shepherd. It's
other Shepherd. Depending on how you reply to that double cross, if you get angry and you choose the bad option, the I'm going to smash you into small pieces, then she dies. If you select the I'm accepting of the fact that you're a double cross, that's fine, whatever, and she lives at the end. So it's that far between it happening and her living and dying at the very end, which is quite cool, I think.
I think I ended up with you're going to go to prison, but you're going to go there because I let you.
Yeah.
And don't ever forget you owe me every single day as a blessing from Commander Shepard.
Yeah.
And then you see her cuffs going back on. And she goes, let's do that.
Yeah. Because if you choose when you discover she double crosses you, if you choose the bad option and you take it badly, then she breaks out of her cuffs. After saying that, I think she says something along the lines of, you'll miss me, breaks out of her cuffs, runs off, and you shoot her in the back, and she says, from here, unlikely. Going back into, when you go into the place into the Citadel archives, and just before just after the bolus turns up with the pizza, and they say, "Who are you going to take?" Well, I'm taking everyone, but who do you want to be on your main squad? And everyone just sort of goes. I thought that was quite sad. Just like everyone wants to be your squad.
I want everyone to be in my squad. Apart from
it was Vega, yeah. At the end, when Joker comes to pick you up in the car to go to the Normandy, and you pick your squad mates, you get into the car, and Shepard looks back at the rest of them, and he's just like, "What? I made the mistake of not choosing Garrus." And you get Garrus sort of sheepishly say, "No, I wanted to come."
Did you let Garrus win in the sniping contest?
100% every time.
No.
It's not even a choice to whether or not he wins or not. It's you always choose to miss, because then you get the great scene of Garrus saying, "I'm Garrus Vakarian, and this is my favourite spot on the Citadel."
No, I always get it.
Yeah, never seen that scene.
You're an arsehole. You're both arseholes, and I hate you both.
I'm not going to pander. He wouldn't like me to pander to him.
I'm too competitive. It could never happen in the imaginary land or the real world either.
Garrus is space bro for life.
Space bros.
Yeah, and he knows we have got proper competition, so it actually means something when he beats me. But he won't when Commander Shepard.
Oh god, I just realised that me saying space bros for life just reminded me of if you're actually it doesn't really matter which Shepard you are. If you're not romancing Jacob as female Shepard and you're male Shepard, and you go far enough through his conversation tree and you pick enough of the good options for him rather than the ones that he doesn't like, then when you speak to him, then he gives you a bro hug and starts rapping to you. You just want to smack him in his stupid face. Yeah, it's exactly that type thing. It's just infuriating.
At least he's not a racist. That helps.
Yeah, he's not a space racist. So does anyone want to talk about Andromeda at all? Or should we just skip that completely? Not bother you? We've given a couple of mentions. We've mentioned a few things about Andromeda.
we kind of brushed over it, didn't we? I mean, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone because I've not really played much myself, to be honest.
There's one thing I'd like to mention about Andromeda, so hopefully Andrew won't cut this out of it. In that, I mentioned earlier that going back to play Mass Effect 1 after playing 2 and 3, it feels like going back in time, and you're losing a lot of the things that make Mass Effect 2 and 3 better games gameplay-wise. You know, the cover mechanics are better. Overall, just like the shooting's better. Everything feels more refined. Movement's more fun. There's less problems with the actual thing, the actual gameplay itself. Andromeda's introduction of the jump pack. Going back to playing Mass Effect 1 with no roll, no jump pack, and nothing like that, that's going to be tough.
One of my friends said that after being the Pathfinder, commanding Shepard feels like you're driving a truck. And I'm thinking even about being a Vanguard who's mobile. The charge in Andromeda is quicker. The strafing makes everything quicker. Getting across the battlefield to shoot someone is so easy. It's taken all the hassle out of widespread murder.
Yeah. Everything's a lot quicker combat-wise. I mean, in a way, it's kind of a double-edged sword for me. I really used to enjoy, pausing the fight mid-fight, setting up my teammates what they were going to do so that we could create combos with each other, so on and so forth. And that's kind of been stripped from this one. And it's left you with 3 potential powers to choose from.
It just makes
to be used at yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's not completely bad. It's just different, and that's okay. I don't mind that.
Yeah, playing this game compared to the other ones, this game is certainly gonna be. I actually think that Brooker would probably enjoy this one. The combat itself is a lot more refined, but the ability to get around the various planets by jumping and then doing an air dash, or if you're playing as the Pathfinder profile, which I found to be the most entertaining one, which gives you the ability to blink essentially.
That's the bottom one, isn't it? I've not
Yeah.
quite unlocked that one yet. I think I need to put some more into one of the other
I
skills.
think if you put, I think it's 12 points,
It's eight in each.
8 in each combat, combat, adept, biotic, and tech, you unlock the explorer class profile, and you get blink options, which is, in layman's terms, the ability to teleport
I don't have anything in
short
tech.
distances. Yeah, I do, because I've unlocked one of the tech powers that you probably haven't got that far yet.
No, I'm just.
There's one, yeah, there's a tech power that's locked behind a mission, which you need to do, and once you unlock it, you don't want any other power from that. That's pretty much. I will give you one recommendation for tech, though. The tech armor, or defensive tech, or something, one of the passive skills. It's vital to you if you're playing on one of the harder difficulties, because despite having barrier to give you decent as a vanguard that you're playing as, I'm assuming,
I've not put the skills in barrier yet.
that gives you bonus to shields, but the defensive tech gives you greater damage resistance. So the combat you want for the ability to carry more weaponry, biotics to increase your shields, and tech to increase damage reduction.
You know what I'm chuffed with? I can carry 2 assault rifles.
Yes, it's brilliant, and they don't, and it's not detrimental to the weapon capacity either.
Mm-hmm. So I think I've got the Cyclone, which, if you put incendiary on it, it's handheld murder. And then I tried the N7 weapon, thought this is rubbish, I don't want that one burst. But there was a mission I did where just getting in, you just walk into killing them. So I'll stay out, I'll get a sniper rifle. The only sniper rifle I could equip, or I could build, was one that shot in bursts.
Oh, the Indra.
This is useless.
Yeah, it's garbage.
I'm used to sniper rifles in Bioshock and in Mass Effect 2 and 3 being, you look through someone far away, and you press a button and their head bursts. Whereas I can't even control this. Because when you get a burst, you have to start shooting below their groin to go right up their body, and then they don't even fall over.
I've got the ability to carry 4 weapons as long as they're relatively low weight, because I've got all of the. So far, there's one in biotic and one in combat that I found so far. There might be one in tech as well in one of the passive trees. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it enough. The ability to increase your weight capacity. Mm-hmm. So I'm currently carrying. Yes, but there's, like I said, there's one under offensive biotics, I think. But I'm currently carrying the Amatic 3 that I've unlocked so far. A Cyclone 4, which is just murder. Mm-hmm. A Phalanx pistol, because it's a lot better than it was in Mass Effect 2, where it was slow firing with a laser sight. It's now a lot quicker firing. It's not as powerful as the Carnifex, but it fires a lot faster and has a bigger magazine. And I've also got a Raptor sniper rifle that I built that added an augmentation to it, and it now fires a laser beam.
Neat.
But it's pros and cons. Luckily, I picked the only sniper rifle with a greater than 10 capacity of rounds, 15. But the laser beam has a very limited range, which for a sniper rifle is not great. And 2, because it's only got 15 rounds, it means it only lasts for about 4 seconds before you need to reload it. So I'm assuming that the laser beam's designed for assault rifles augmentation, beam emitter, I think.
I got that sniper rifle in multiplayer, didn't I, from opening one of the packs on the tester.
The Raptor.
It weren't a Raptor, it was another one. It was a foreign. It was one of the new ones. And
oh, yeah, I know.
The other sniper rifle I had 300 damage, and this one had 1200.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
You use the Ishray, I think it is.
Yeah, Ishray, that's the one. Yeah, something like that.
Which I think is the Angaran word for God.
Yeah, it was just killing everything in one shot, which was great. But it's just so hard to use because none of the maps give you a decent distance.
None of the maps are big enough, and 2, that thing has this ridiculous amount of weight, so you then can't use any of your powers.
Yeah. Yep. I'll get back into the multiplayer once I finish the single. I always found that it's full of spoilers, so I don't want to risk it.
Yeah, the multiplayer for 3 was my biggest bugbear because I discovered Banshees in the multiplayer long before I'd done the mission in the monastery.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of the fear element out of the monastery.
That
monastery.
was scary. The fact that there's a room that's just dark,
Yeah.
that was scary.
A room that's just dark, and you can then hear later on the screaming, and if you... that fucking mission right there, terrifying. Play the multiplayer first, discover that Banshees exist, because you've played against the Reaper forces in the multiplayer. The same as discovering the Rachni Ravagers. Completely ruins that mission. Just completely ruins the single player for Reaper forces. Just by playing the multiplayer.
Actually, that's the thing we haven't talked about. The utter body horror behind Indoctrination and Reaper forces. How the Scions in 2, I think they're... Scions have got a human corpse as a gun.
Yeah.
And
they shoot the stupid blue goo that just keeps hitting the floor, and if you're in cover, it knocks you out of cover and takes almost all of your health away.
Yeah, but that gun is a corpse. And
Yeah.
the Batarian and human mingled together gives you a cannibal. It's horrible. And the fact you get indoctrination, the whole idea about stopping being who you are, that's absolutely terrifying to me.
Yeah. Plus the whole Mass Effect 3 ending conspiracy theory around it. Last 20 minutes conspiracy theory, which was interesting.
Yeah, which is something I'll probably link again.
Yeah, if anyone's not heard that, which I'd be very surprised, and Google that.
Although mentioning that all reminds me of the fact that I mentioned this earlier. So if this is going to be one hell of an edit for Andrew sorting all of this out.
Yeah.
It's the Elusive Man. Mass Effect 2's Elusive Man is a pretty chill bloke who's clearly interested in the human life and setting that guy. And then he turns into a complete and utter whiny bastard in 3, and is just a completely wasted character. The Elusive Man's almost infuriatingly rubbish in 3. They just took all character development and just went, nah, screw it, stick that in the bin. We're going to do this mindless fanatic for no reason.
That's partly because he gets indoctrinated, and partly because it needs to serve a story.
Yeah, I suppose. It just seems like such a waste of decent talent.
Yeah, I bet.
So, I think we've probably bored everyone enough with our Mass Effect talk.
Not that
So,
I'm just stopping to think just now.
yeah, we've really gone into this, and the best part is we didn't really have any sort of actual plan to follow as such, and with that it ended up being a really long conversation about talking about my favourite game franchise of all time.
And here's where we hang up and go, oh, but we didn't mention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be doing that tonight while I'm dreaming of you both.
Fantastic. So, recommendations. Does anyone have any? Any free games or anything coming out?
What was it? I played something for free on my phone, which is very, very quick, slightly strange, called Brave Knight, Knight with a K. It's free, it's 5 minutes. It's a nice little story, and it stretches the definition of the game. It's an interactive story.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Anything from you, Lee?
Does it have to be free?
It doesn't have to be free. You can recommend Mass Effect Andromeda if you want.
No, I'm gonna go with an indie game called Bastion, which has not long been out on the Xbox One. As a re-release, recoloured, reskin game. It looks 10 times better than it looked on the previous ones, and it's still the same amazing game that it was, all packaged in to the new Xbox One version. So if you've not played that, pick that up. I'm sure it's on PS4 too.
And my recommendation isn't a game, it's that on Little Big Planet 3, you can now get the Mass Effect Andromeda characters or skins.
Quality, because I'm currently playing with Bioshock Elizabeth, but with the David Bowie zigzag face.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that, Brian. So that's my recommendation right there. Mass Effect Andromeda characters in Little Big Planet 3. Just seeing Cora, I really like Cora's haircut. I think she looks really cute. It's really annoying that she's got such an annoying voice.
I like how the first time you see Cora is when she comes into the Hyperion in zero gravity, and her fringe is straight down because her hair does not correspond to zero gravity.
It's all the hair product.
We didn't even mention squad mates like Old Man Krogan.
Yes, Drac, brilliant. Love him.
I found him to be quite boring.
No, the thing I like the most about Drac is that Lexi is clearly in love with him.
I've not really had it. I've not had too much interaction with him, but then I've got a mallet as well. So.
Wait.
Okay.
Can you get Cora in Little Big Planet 3? Because the only one I can see has got Drac and a Pathfinder and a Ket and a Remnant.
That might be all there is. I was wishful thinking about Cora because I like Cora. Although I don't take her anywhere with me, I usually tend to have Jarl and Drac with me when I go anywhere. I don't tend to. Liam is the new Jacob who just sits on the ship and doesn't do anything.
He's got that jumpy thing. That's all right. No, I'm usually either Vetra and Cora or Drac and Cora.
Occasionally I'll take PB, but only because she's got a mission that's useful.
I'm starting to take people based on I want to hear what they say in this situation. Like doing all the Angara missions stuff, I've got to take Jarl with me. I don't really like him.
No, wait, that's a lie. I have taken Liam with me because I discovered that if you have Liam and Drac together, it's fucking brilliant because Liam really wants to be Drac's friend and Drac just doesn't like him at all.
I don't like him either.
So
his voice annoys me.
Driving around in the Nomad, have Drac and Liam, and just the number of times Liam tries to extend the Oilers branch trying to be his friend, and Drac's like, no, fuck off. What are you, like 2 years old?
I love that. I saw there's an old internet post saying, I said please play for my grandpa, please stop. Grandpa's too strong, he broke out of hospital. And nobody can stop him now. That's a picture of Drac. Grandpa's too strong.
Yeah. So, as we're all done, and we've done our recommendations, does anyone want to plug themselves in any way on social media? Are you useful in that way, or can we just...
Yeah.
Nothing that I do on social media is of interest to anybody on here.
Got it.
I got a mention on the national body of my sports page, but we're not a sporty podcast, we're a sit on the couch podcast.
It's true. I like sports. Sports. Okay. Lee, yourself?
I am Pyro Loveridge on most consoles and Loveridge01 on Twitter.
So, you can find me on Xbox Live as Long Dong Silver, on Twitter as @thejohn_cu. I also had our Instagram post for Character Unlock of @CharacterUnlock. Character Unlock has a Twitter account, again, @CharacterUnlock, and on Facebook you can find us under Character Unlock. So pretty much most social media, so you just type Character Unlock and you'll find us. Brooker, who isn't with us, is Troublemaker 411 on Xbox Live, and Brooker 411, I believe, on Twitter. So that just leaves us with signing off. So good night, gents.
Good night.
I should go.
Yeah. Night, everyone.
Bye.